Hi, Mr. Enclave Soldier. I come in peace. Die! Welcome to Fallout 2. Too Much Coffee, episode 26. I'm Jason.
I'm Kevin.
And we're talking to you today about Fallout 2. If you haven't heard our episode about Fallout 1, we highly suggest you go back, listen to that episode, and play that game because it's an excellent game. Today, we are digging into the sequel, Fallout 2. This is I'd call it a classic game. What do you think?
Yeah, it's for sure a classic game.
Yeah. There's nothing quite like it.
True.
So we played the first one, we played the second one. I think we might continue this series and go on ahead and play the third one, New Vegas, and the fourth one. We're not going to play Tactics. We're not playing the Brotherhood of Steel,
Although I do need to play Tactics sometimes.
action game, none of that
I
stuff.
like those kinds of games.
Today we're going to talk about Fallout 2, which came out in 1998. I found out 1998 was a ridiculous year for video games.
There's a ton of good stuff in 98.
So I Googled 1998. Here's what came out. Half-Life, the first one. StarCraft, just those two.
Yeah.
God, I played a lot of StarCraft when I was a kid. Thief, Grim Fandango, which I don't like, but everybody else in the world loves.
It's a classic, one-click adventure classic.
Metal Gear Solid, it's a super classic.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 2, excellent. Ocarina of Time, super classic. Xenogears is super classic in my heart.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate, super classic. Rainbow Six, Gran Turismo, there are more. So 1998 was an excellent year to play video games. And I had a lot of fun playing a lot of the games on this list. After Fallout, actually, progress on Fallout 2 began before Fallout 1 was even released because they knew they had something
interesting.
nice.
Yeah.
So they started on it before Fallout 1 was even released. Fallout 1 did well, it sold well. Fallout 2, now Interplay is the company that made Fallout 2. Let me just give you, before we dive into the game proper, let me go ahead and just sort of tell you about a little bit about how, the situation around it being released. So Fallout 2 was released in 1998 by Black Isle Studios. That is the RPG section of Interplay. What stunk is that Interplay was in money trouble at the time.
Yeah.
And so, that played a factor. That was a role.
Doesn't help.
That didn't help the production of the game. This game was produced in 9 months, which is absolutely insane to me. Now, Fallout 1 was produced over the course of 3.5 years. It started with Tim Kaine, who was the guy who began the project. He worked on it by himself, creating the engine for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then, brought other people on, and it took him 3 years to finish the game. Fallout 2, which is much larger in scope.
Yep.
So much more to do, much bigger map, more quests, more cities, way bigger than Fallout 1, was produced in 9 months.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Now, they had
Which is
the
actually
engine.
kind of the same thing for New Vegas.
The engine was the same, basically,
Yeah.
slightly improved. The graphical assets were the same. Again, they, added stuff and improved some things, but all of that basic stuff was already in place, which of course is going to save you a lot of time.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that just even so,
Yeah.
creating a
It's
game
a
this
short amount of time,
size.
yeah.
I didn't keep track of how long it took me to play it, but it had to have taken 40 hours. And
Yeah,
I
I don't
didn't
know.
even try to do everything.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 30 hours, 25 hours. I don't know.
I
It
mean,
felt like
I feel like I
60
skipped
hours.
a lot of stuff in this game.
There is a ton of stuff to do. So anyway, Fallout 1 was the brainchild of Tim Kaine. We talked about this in the last episode. Go check it out. Fallout 2, he sort of helped get the ball rolling. But then he left and founded Troika, which you might have heard of. They made Arcanum, which probably nobody played, but you might have played the Temple of Elemental Evil. And you've definitely heard of Vampire the Masquerade, even if you haven't played it. Fallout 2, as you can imagine, it was crunched. These poor kids were working very hard trying to get this game done. Killing themselves to finish this game. Part of that, what a time for games. Part of the reason maybe Fallout 2 is so good is that during crunch time, to finish the game, they had to bring over part of the Planescape Torment development team to help finish the game, which if you haven't played Planescape is awesome.
Another good game, yeah.
That's a game that is a classic, and maybe for the writing more than anything. It's just so creative, so interesting. It's not like the D&D games.
Yeah, it's very unique.
It's excellent. If you've never played Planescape, you should check it out.
For sure.
How is Fallout 2 different than Fallout 1?
Well, the tone is different for sure.
It uses the same, it looks the same, and it sounds the same.
Yeah.
Basically, the graphics and sound are unchanged from the first one. Just a little expanded, a little improved upon, especially when you get to areas like Vault City or New Reno, especially. When you get to New Reno or the Enclave base, things like that, you start to see the extra graphics that they've created for this game.
Yep.
When you're driving around in the car, you see some extra graphics,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But basically, it's just an expanded, bigger version of the same game. Unfortunately, fewer talking heads.
Yeah, that
I
was
love
very
those
weird.
in
I don't
Fallout
know why.
1.
Yeah.
Now, if you haven't played the game, certain people you speak to, the big talking head comes up on screen, and there's voice acting, and you talk to them, and that's how you know it's an important character.
Yeah.
But what happened was in Fallout 1, they said that making these things was such a chore. Like, they were killing themselves just to make one
I don't doubt
talking
it.
head. They were made
so
out of
cool.
clay.
Yeah.
They're actually made out of clay and then animated and scanned. But they said that the amount of work just to produce one of these was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And since Fallout 2 was made under such a crunch, they just didn't have the time or the resources to produce a bunch of these. So Fallout 1, which is a vastly smaller game, had something like double, I think, the amount of talking heads as Fallout 2.
More voice actors too. Kind of famous ones too, actually. And
Really,
Fallout 1.
really, the story of Fallout 2 is sort of essentially the same as Part 1. Just swap out words.
It's got kind of the same structure.
So instead of the water chip, get the GAC.
Yeah.
Instead of defeating I won't get into spoilers too much yet, but instead of you're defeating the big bad guy of this game. It's kind of the same as defeating the big bad guy of the first game.
I don't care. I'll spoil everything.
Yeah, just to tell
This
you.
game is 25 years old.
No, let me be clear. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this game, but not at the top. So right now I'm gonna keep it high level.
Okay,
We're gonna talk about basic stuff. I'm gonna keep it high level, basic stuff, and as we move into the episode, and I'll warn you, we're gonna get into spoiling the game big time. Basically, Kevin and I have flip-flop opinions about this.
Yes.
I loved Fallout 1 and hated Fallout 2.
Yeah.
So when we went into this, I just assumed I would continue to hate it. I had never actually beaten the game until I played it again for this episode. And it started off much the same, but the more I played through it, I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty good game, and I think I love it. And Kevin, you had a slightly different experience.
Well, I love Fallout 1, and I still love it. One of my favorite games ever. Fallout 2, I played a long time ago, and I beat it. And I remembered liking it a lot more than I did. But this time I played it, I still enjoyed it. I didn't like it all that much, honestly.
Let's put our cards on the table. In terms of how good of a game is Fallout 2, I think Fallout 2 is a great game. It is a classic. It's somewhere between classic and extremely good game.
Yeah.
Certainly flawed.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. I'll get into
which we'll get into.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely worth at least trying out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth playing. It's a fun game. I don't know, there's just a lot to it that's like, I guess as I'm a more active consumer of media nowadays, it's like I look at it, I'm like, I don't know, some of this stuff doesn't make any sense to me.
What kind of stuff doesn't make what sort of sense?
Well, like at the very beginning of the game, you know, you're from Arroyo, in your tribe.
Yeah.
I don't really, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something maybe I'm not looking at it correctly.
How about this?
But I don't understand why the Vault Dweller would leave and then form like a tribal society.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I was thinking about that as well. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, all that stuff that you're thinking about right now, we're just going to bring that up as we work our way to the game.
I would also, let me say something too real
Go
quick.
ahead.
I feel like the biggest indictment on this game, I've beaten this game a few times. I have never once in my life beaten it without editing my save file. Not once have I ever done it without doing that.
Now, maybe you can expand on exactly what you mean by that.
That'll be some stuff later at the end of the game.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, this game is...
Did you have to edit? So you had to edit your save file this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did it a few times.
When we get to the
Well-
part where you had to do that, you remember to
Yeah.
tell us.
This game is, in my opinion, unforgiving in some really obnoxious ways.
This game has adventure game, point and click game syndrome.
Yes.
If you guys ever played classic Sierra or LucasArts point and click games like Loom or Leisure Suit Larry or those old Indiana Jones games or Day of the Tentacle, Maniac Mansion, any of that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you know the type of thing I'm talking about. And what would happen in those point and click games is, A, sometimes you would have to do something nonsensical. B, sometimes you had no clue at all what to do. Or maybe you knew what to do, but you had no clue how the game expected you to do it.
Yeah.
And you would just have to wander around and talk to people and click on things and try stuff. To me, Fallout 2, now Fallout 1 did not feel like that. I
Yeah,
feel like
no.
in Fallout 1, I pretty much always knew what I was supposed to do. And I pretty much always had a line on how I was going to accomplish it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I felt. Fallout 2, I knew what I was supposed to do, broadly speaking, but every once in a while I would run into a part where I didn't know what the game expected me, how it expected me to accomplish this thing. Like, it didn't really give me enough information to find what I was looking for without just traveling across this gigantic freaking map, wasting my whole life just trying stuff and talking to people and clicking on things to accidentally stumble onto the solution to the problem. So I like those adventure games. Those adventure games are fun. The last one I played was Sam and Max
Yeah.
Hit the Road. Sam and Max Hit the Road is very fun if you have a walkthrough open on your phone or whatever, and then whenever you feel you have that feeling, you know when something's wrong. Whenever you get that feeling, just look at the walkthrough. Don't play the whole game with the walkthrough, but just keep it handy. And when you get that feeling that something's wrong or you're missing something, take a look at it, and the game is way more fun that way. I think that's the way that Fallout 2 should be played, to save yourself from. Listen, maybe you're the type of person, maybe you're 13, and maybe you got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And you can just wander the map and talk to every person in the whole game. If that's the case, just do that. But if you're like me, not 13, and you've got limited time, and you don't want to waste your time trying to figure something out in the game, just use the walkthrough to streamline the process so you don't have to wander all the way. And we're going to talk about the map, but so you don't have to wander across the whole map trying to figure out what in the hell am I supposed to be doing.
I don't think I really ever had a problem with like trying to find what I was supposed to do. It's just that the way things are done are so specific sometimes.
We're going to get into it because we're going to go through it step by step. I'm basically going to take you through my playthrough of the game and yours as well. And we're going to talk about issues and problems and just what it was like to play the game. Let me set up the story of Fallout for those who don't remember or haven't played it. The game takes place in the year 2241. This game is 80 years after the events of Fallout 1.
Yeah.
You may remember that Fallout 1, there has been like an atomic war that has created an apocalyptic wasteland. That is the premise of the whole game. Society is destroyed. Nuclear fallout is everywhere.
Yeah.
You can get nuclear radiation just wandering around, the world. So, in this game, you are a descendant of the player from the first game, the Vault Dweller. You come from a tribal society that was founded by the Vault Dweller, and they need what's called the Garden of Eden creation kit, because there's a drought, there's not enough water, crops aren't growing, people are dying, and the GECK will solve all your problems.
Yeah.
So very similar to Fallout 1, where you had to go get the thing to save your tribe. Same thing here. You got to go get the thing to save your tribe.
Yep.
So at the beginning of this game, they send you out to go find the GECK. That is the premise. It expands from that as you learn about what's going on in the world, and then you have something else to do. But getting the GECK is the
structurally
number one.
Essentially the same as Fallout 1.
Right now is where we're going to get into some spoiler territory. We're going to start off at the beginning of the game, so, if you play the game for 2 seconds, you'll get into this. But I'm basically going to take you through my playthrough. We're going to go through the game sort of point by point, step by step, and just talk about it. so you get a flavor of what it's like to play it, and so that you can relive the good times of playing this game if you played it in the past. A lot of you have played this game before, so you know what it's like, but it's probably been a long time. You might not remember it. Then again, a lot of people got into Fallout at Fallout 3, and they've never played Fallout 1 or 2. A lot of people did that.
Yeah, well, I would guess probably most people, fans of Fallout, did nowadays, because as popular as Fallout 1 and 2 were, Fallout 3 is huge.
Yeah, to me,
I think
I played the first Fallout. I can't remember exactly the circumstances, but I played the first Fallout, when it came out.
Yeah.
And also the second.
I actually remember you playing it when I was a kid.
Yeah. So, I'm familiar. I've been familiar with the game my whole life. But you may not be familiar with it at all, in which case, listen to us and we'll see, maybe this is something you want to check out. You start off in Arroyo. Now, you brought up an excellent point about this, and I thought the exact same thing. Arroyo, imagine you're watching National Geographic and they go to a place without civilization, where people are living in huts and hunting with spears. That is what your tribe is like.
Yeah, just imagine like an uncontacted tribe almost.
Yeah.
God, I can't talk.
Yeah, I mean, you've got people with bones. Well, I was going to say bones in their nose, but that's really Sulik. But he's a tribal guy too. I mean, that whole northern section where you live is sort of tribal territory.
Yeah, just imagine tribal society. And that's basically it.
Now, the vault dweller who founded this territory was not tribal.
Yeah,
he was raised in a vault with modern technology.
It makes really no sense.
And he traveled the whole world after that, and he was exposed to the society that was erected in the wake of this apocalyptic event. He was not a tribal in any way. So how would he found a village that was tribal?
And I could understand that if they founded the village and this game took place 500 years after the first game, and they've sort of evolved over time, but it's not the case. It's 80 years.
Yeah, that really makes zero sense. Yeah. But you just have to accept.
Depending on what the age of your Vault Dweller character would be, it's possible for them to still be alive in the game. I mean, not literally, but
very close.
Like my character was just the default
25, right? 23, 22, 20, something like that?
Well, no, in my original game, I used one of the pre-made characters. I just modified it. I forget her name. The woman. And her age is just 17 in it. So theoretically...
97 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could absolutely be alive. Yeah. Why is this tribal? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it's not meant for you to... Maybe it's just meant to just accept it, but it bugs me.
Well, it should. They kick you off in the temple. Now, do you love or hate the temple? Because some people love it and some people hate it.
I didn't like it when the first time I played it a long time ago, because you have to go through it every time. I don't like any game where you have a section like that. Fallout 3 has that too.
Some tutorial thing that you have to go through every time. Some long section you have to do every time you play the game. Those things should be skippable.
Nowadays, I don't mind it because I realize, as a matter of fact, on this playthrough, you can just run for the end of it, basically. Yeah. There's nothing in there. You just run straight to the end.
Yeah. The very first time I played the game, I killed every monster. I searched in every bucket. Forget that. Just go straight to the end. You do need to pick up the plastic explosive to blow up a door.
That's like on the way.
But the tribal thing, the first time you play through the game, it's fine. But after that, if you play twice, it's like this thing just feels tacked on and sucky. But it's like an intro area where it's like this trial that you have to go through to prove that you're worthy to be the chosen one to be sent out to get the Gek. So they start you off in this temple. You work your way through, you're stepping on ants, you're sticking your spear into scorpions and setting off traps and getting shot with things.
Yeah.
At the end, you did you fight that guy or did you talk your way out of it?
No, I fought him.
I talked my way out.
The way I played these games, I usually start out with a high speech skill.
I was going to say, before we get into the game, tell me what kind of character you made. Like, what kind of skills did you have?
All right, here's the first problem I had with the game. I actually I literally just made the same character I made in the first game. Because I was like, they're the descendant of the Vault Dweller, so I just made literally the same stats and everything.
Now, let me say this before you get into it. If you're listening to this for some reason and you didn't hear the Fallout 1 episode, just quickly, it's sort of D&D-like. You have strength, speed, intelligence, charisma, luck, and endurance. Actually, they're called endurance, perception. Anyway, those are the kinds of stats that you have. And then you have skills like small guns, big guns, energy weapons, lock picking, doctors, first aid, outdoorsmanship, gambling. You got a whole list of skills that you put points in every level. And then you have special traits that you can take or not take at the beginning that do different things. Like they may make you do less damage, but you score higher criticals, which is what I took. It may make you be able to carry less, but you can move fast, just different things. Yeah. And then as you level up through the game, you get perks, and they are special. They're sort of like these traits, but they actually are different depending on what your stats are, and you get different ones at different levels. And they're things like, better critical hits, or you get a bonus to your speech when you're speaking to someone, or you get more movement points or something like that. So it's a point-based system like a lot of D&D games or those kind of RPG games. And every level you get more points that you can apply to these things, and you build your skills up. And your skills, so you play the game differently depending on your skills. So if you have great combat, you may be shooting your way out of different situations. But if you can lockpick, sneak, and speak, you can talk your way out of just about everything. Now in Fallout 1, you could talk yourself out of probably everything. Fallout 2, you can talk your way out of just about everything, but you are going to have to fight a little bit.
Which is one of the problems with Fallout 2.
I agree.
Not necessarily talking, but like, I don't necessarily mind that you can't talk through everything, but there are a lot of parts of Fallout 2 where you feel like they had the way that they wanted you to do it, and you have to do it that way.
Exactly.
It's obnoxious, in my opinion.
In
any game, not just Fallout.
I agree with that 100%. So, if you have good repair skill, you're going to be fixing things. If you have good lockpicking skill, you're going to be lockpicking things. If you have good steal skill, you're going to be stealing stuff from people. You play the game differently depending on your skill set. Okay. That said, Kevin, what did your character look like when you started the game?
The first time I played the game, or the first character I made in this game, I literally just made my old character. So I had a really high intelligence. I think I had good steel and science and stuff like that. And just got destroyed the entire game. Eventually to the point, I was almost halfway through the game and I was like, I can't do this. So I just started the game over and made a different character.
So your guy couldn't fight?
Yeah, and just any time. This game too, in combat, the amount of damage you take is wild. Sometimes you'll just take a few points of damage, but
it is crazy. The first game didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Something about this game, I don't know if it's like the critical hits, but you'll actually be fine, and then all of a sudden you will get critted and just blow up.
Yeah.
No matter how strong you are.
So I had to make a character that had a little more emphasis on combat. Oh, that's right. The thing that I think really made my first character not work well was that in the last game I took Jinxed as my perk.
Yeah, the one where everybody has bad luck.
Jinxed had something else. I think I had Good Natured the first time. I don't remember. I had Jinxed and something else. And that Jinx is my favorite perk. But I didn't feel like it worked in this game. So I made a different character and had Fast Shot and Gifted, I think. Which turns out
is Gifted
very good.
Gifted is where you get an extra stat, but fewer skill points. Is that right?
Yeah, you get one extra point in all of your special stats.
Right. All your strength, and perception, and endurance.
Yeah, fewer skill points. As it turns out, it's almost kind of broken. Actually, it's dope.
I didn't take that one.
Still hard, but way easier.
I'll tell you what I did. I wanted, because I had the same problem you had where you make a character and then you play in the games like, this does not work.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that again. So I consulted a walkthrough and I looked at how does this guy suggest you create a character, and he had several types of characters that would work.
Yeah.
So I chose what he called the lone gunslinger because you can pick up people in this game, but I think they're freaking useless. Yeah. I guess they're not. But they just get in the way and they get killed. Your companions are annoying. I just don't like them. It's just me. So I never take companions, so I don't care about that. And the way this game works is charisma, I get. This blows my mind. I can't believe this, but they say that charisma almost matters 0 except for the companions you get because you can get the number of companions, your charisma divided by 2 is the number of companions you can get.
Yeah.
Rounded down, something like that. So if you have a 10 charisma, you can get 5 companions. And I don't care about that. So my charisma was 1 in this playthrough. I just dropped, I took all the points out.
Yeah.
My guy was fast. I had really high agility. My strength was right in the middle.
Yeah.
Because you get strength later in the game, especially when you get power armor. You get 3 or 4 strengths from that. So you just go get the power armor. I had a lot of intelligence, so you can get dialogue options and skill points. and I can't remember what my luck was. But basically, my guy was fast, perceptive, and intelligent.
Yeah.
And that gives you the speech options, the skill points, and you will develop the ability to shoot.
Yeah.
And what you really need in this game is agility points. Because
yeah, I maxed out my agility.
everything is, you get these pips that count as your action points.
Yeah.
And it's a turn-based combat game. And the more action points you have, the more you can do. What really stinks, and this happened to me in Fallout 1, was where you have just enough agility points where you can shoot once,
Yeah.
but not enough to shoot twice. So you
Yeah,
can
that
shoot
was-
once every round, then you have to find something else to do with
That
your
was
leftover
my
points.
first Fallout playthrough.
This game, I had tons of agility points. I could do an aimed shot twice in the same turn, and it was
Well, I had
excellent. So much better.
I maxed out my agility this game, and I also had fast shot, so that's one fewer action point it takes to shoot. So I can shoot twice and reload, and then later in the game you get something else that gives you, it drops your ability, the action point cost for shooting down a little more, so I can shoot 3 times.
I think I had that one too.
with a Gauss rifle, which is destroying everything.
Just destroying stuff. Headshot, eye shot, headshot, eye shot. I had my tag skills were small guns, speech, and lock picking. Is it lock picking? I think lock picking. Lock picking is really useful. Speech is really useful.
Yeah.
So the first town, you go through the the boring temple. Who cares about that?
Which I gotta say, that temple's huge. Who built that in 8 years?
Right? I got out of there, talked my way out of the inn so I didn't have to fight that guy. I got the nice spear. I talked to the crazy tribal people that like, go get the Gek. And then what's weird is how hard it is to clean that guy's garden out because the shaman guy's like, Chosen,
Yeah.
will you clean my garden of the pesky weeds that's
Yeah,
grown
yeah.
up? So you go over there with your spear. And at the beginning, see, it's funny because you start with a spear.
Yeah.
I took no melee. It's all percentage based. And I have no melee fighting ability, so I'm standing right next to this big plant thing that's trying to bite me, and I've got like a 46% chance to hit it. So you're just over and over, hit. I'm almost dead. Run back to the healer, get healed, go back, hit.
Yeah.
Finally kill them all. Didn't do much of anything else. You can do a bunch of stuff in this town if you want to, but I was like, I'm out of here, bam, and gone.
Yeah, there's a few quests you can do. You can gain a level.
Yeah, you can do a
First
bunch.
town.
You can go find.
Which I did all of them.
I think you can go find a dog.
Yep.
You can go find like a crashed helicopter, which is called a vertibird. And there's a robot thing over there you can kill if you want to.
Oh
It's
yeah, I
all
think
kinds
get
of
a yellow key card or something like that, but I never found out what it was.
stuff. Yeah, you can.
I should look it up.
Next, I went to Klamath,
Yeah.
which to me, and why I didn't like this game in the past was, I think the beginning is weak.
Yeah.
I think the first couple towns, it's like you just can't really do much.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like it's hard to get a weapon. Your guy can't fight. Your skills are low.
Yeah.
And like I went to Klamath, and you can do this thing like save the trapper. Well, I got to kill a bunch of geckos. Well, I can hardly even kill one. You find some lame weapon that you can shoot once, and then you have to reload it every time, and it just stinks.
This game is rough starting out, and it's also
Well, and it's just the first look. The first town sucks.
Yeah.
So Tor, this tribal named Tor, who's real dumb, is like, please help me, God Brahman. So
Yeah.
you say, fine. Show up. You kill all these little tiny scorpions that are a problem. And you see these 2 guys in the woods, and they're like, don't tell him what's going on. Here. I was going to tell him, but I couldn't find him again. It's like, where the heck is this guy's house?
oh, interesting. Oh,
Did
it's
you?
4?
Yeah.
No, yeah, he disappears. As a matter of fact, the first time I played
He's got to
him,
be somewhere.
it's very weird. The first time I played the game, if you don't accept the job the first time, there's some weird thing you have to do it again because he just disappears.
See, that's lame. It's like that's one of the very first quests. And it's like, well, I can't find the guy again to finish the quest that I want to finish. So whatever. Anyway, Klamath sucks. We go to the den. Now the den is a little more interesting.
Yeah.
It's a what do
I
they
kinda
call
like
it?
the
The
den. It's cool.
hive. The hive of
Yeah, Hive of Scum Villainy.
scum and villainy.
There's all sorts of references in this game, which I'm not crazy about how they're done. They feel very heavy-handed in this game.
We are going to talk about the references when we
Yeah.
get to MODOK. But the den, it's funny because you walk around and like these kids are running up to you and like, well, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they're all trying to pickpocket you.
Yeah.
So as you walk, if you get too close to the little grubby kids in the town.
Yeah.
They all try to pick your pockets all the time. But this one is a little bit better. You got more stuff to do. There's this fight that I got into at this old church building where you're trying to go in there and kill some bodyguards. And you got a lot of guys with you, so they do most of the heavy lifting. But I bet I died at that battle 20 times. It was crazy.
Which is funny.
Your partners are so stupid.
Yeah.
They'll block the doorways, or like the one person who I want to keep alive will just run right in there and get gunned down. And
that's interesting.
just trying to keep her alive, trying to keep myself, because my guy sucked at the very beginning. It took a little time for him to warm up. And I just couldn't fight. So anyway,
You still just have the pipe rifle.
I had to
at that
save
point?
Scummit. I think I had I don't know, I had something. Not the pipe rifle. That thing sucks so hard. The only thing worse might be the BB gun. Did you get the BB gun?
I know where it is, but I didn't.
You can actually. I didn't pick it up, but you can get a BB gun in that game.
In MODOK.
You know, I helped the ghost, and just did a couple little extra
I
things.
will say one thing. I do this every single time I play this game. The most satisfying thing in any video game is when you encounter Metzger the first time. He's a slaver.
Yeah.
And you the first time you're just too weak. He's too armed up, and he's too powerful. You have to deal with him like.
There's a
on
lot of
his
guys
terms.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. But every time I play this game, I just go back and I just have to like
Take him out,
light him out. Yeah.
He's a slave. He deserves it.
Yeah. I do that every
I
single
wish
time.
I'd remembered to do that.
Yeah.
We should say that the first lead that you get on finding the GEC is the village elder says, go find a guy named Vic the Trader.
Yeah.
Trader, not traitor, trader.
Yeah. She
And
says
Vic
it's in Klamath.
Vic is in Den. So you go there. He's, like Kevin said, Metzger's got him.
Yeah.
He wants you to buy his freedom. Like, I don't know.
Which is pretty
Vic
hard.
is like working on something
Yeah.
for Metzger, and he's like, you can have him, but you got to pay me for him.
Yeah.
Which, I had no money, really.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do at the beginning of the game. You can, if you are a woman and you have a high enough charisma, you can have sex with them and drop the price. I've never
serious?
done that though. Yeah.
One thing to know about these games, Fallout is a lot of fun on the replay.
Yeah.
Because the first time through, you're like, well, how do I find resources? How do I find money? How do I find guns? How do I find weapons? Who do I talk to? What are the quests I can do? You're figuring all that stuff out. So like the first quest, the first run through is almost like a rough draft where you're taking notes and figuring out what to do. But once you figure out, oh, I get the shotgun here. Oh, I can get some money here. Once you've got some of that basic knowledge, you replay the game. It is so much quicker, so much more streamlined, and way more fun, I think.
Well, yeah, Fallout 1 and 2, you could really beat either of those games in no time if you know exactly what you're doing.
And Fallout 1 is like that too. At the beginning, you just don't have the resources, and you're just trying to figure out what the hell am I supposed to do
Fallout
to
1
get
especially
stuff.
because you don't really have to fight essentially anywhere in Fallout 1.
Right.
If you have the right skills, you can just go right to the place and do the thing.
Like you were alluding to, Fallout 1, you can talk yourself out of, I'm sure I'm wrong about this, but it feels like you can talk yourself out of just about everything.
Yeah.
There is very little combat that you have to do.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can
yeah,
beat,
not
you
even just-
can you can beat the whole game without fighting anything.
Yeah.
You can beat the
It's not
final
even just
boss
the-
without fighting anything.
Not even just talking. There's always some other solution.
And
There's
not
always
a-
multiple ways you can come at it.
Not only can you beat the final boss without combat, there are multiple ways to beat the final boss without combat. So, to spoil it, if you haven't played the first one, close your earmuffs, close your ears. You can talk your way out of it with the master. You can just go to the reactor and use science on it or whatever and just blow the whole place up. And neither one of those involve combat. You sneak in, you do that, you sneak out.
Yeah.
Or you can go in there and fight him. I've never beat that game by fighting. Never.
Me neither. I think it'd be pretty hard. He's got like 2 turrets.
He's hard as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll kick your ass. I accidentally got in a fight with him, and he mowed my ass down. So back to Fallout 2. The Den is a little better. You go to the next town. These first 3 towns, to me, it's like intro, kind of boring. I don't like the very beginning of this game.
Yeah.
MODOK is the next town. This one, each town you go to, it gets a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Klamath, boring. Den, MODOK, okay. So you get to MODOK, and this is where they're having a problem with their neighbors.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. You go over there and they're
this
like,
quest line, yeah.
that you go over there and they're like, they're putting people's bodies on sticks.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are ghosts there, and everyone's afraid.
Yep.
So you go over there, and you roll up on the farm, the ghost farm, as it's called on your map, because all the people in MODOK think this place is haunted.
Yeah.
I don't remember any ghosts in the first Fallout, but there are ghosts in this
No,
second.
and that's part of the thing with the tone of this game that I don't like as much. It's very wacky. There's a lot of stuff like ghosts. They kind of throw everything in there.
We're going to get into
in a
some
way that I
wackiness
don't think is
right
particularly
here.
flattering,
Yeah,
yeah.
the game is getting wacky at this point.
And this has a section, part 2, that I like, but it doesn't make any sense. Sorry, go ahead.
For example, one of the ways that this game is interesting, so if your perception is high enough,
Yeah.
when you walk to the ghost farm, your guy will say something like, this doesn't look real.
Yeah, I got that too.
Turns out those bodies are not real. They're
Yeah.
fakes. When you get up and explore them. Anyway, you turn out that there are people living there, and they are in trouble. They need what MODOK has.
Yeah.
MODOK needs what this town has because they figured out a way to irrigate their crops.
Yeah.
MODOK is running low on food, so they need to repair their relationship. If you don't fix their relationship, MODOK invades the ghost town and they just fight them, take their stuff. But if you mend their relationship, that's reflected in the end of the game when they tell you that everything worked out. So anyway, I didn't do a ton of stuff here, but I did fix that situation.
I like that quest line. It doesn't really make any sense for people to have been underground for like 100 years.
No.
And now they're like, can't stand the sun. I don't
Right.
know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I don't know about
although
that.
there is something, for some reason I love the quest.
They're called the Slags.
I don't know why.
What a
I love
name.
the concept of people like living in some underground society. Another great game that involves that is the Avernum series. If you never played those, but
Oh, what? I don't know what that is.
RPG series about well, the first game is like this underground prison area, and you're kind of thrown in there. You have to escape. They all live in this underground cavern,
Huh.
a giant, massive, like countryside underground cavern.
How old is this?
90s. Around the same time.
I don't remember that.
It's a relatively like
An obscure, like a PC
Yeah.
game.
the guy who made it. The guy who made it is a guy named Jeff Fogel. He's an interesting dude, but yeah, it's just old.
Okay.
Like, turn-based RPG.
I have to check it out. So
It's hideous, but it's very good.
MODOK to me is where the game starts to get a little goofy.
Yeah.
Now this game, the first
Oh.
Fallout had. Oh, go ahead.
Another element of like this game sort of forcing you to do certain things is when you go down under and talk to the Slags.
Yeah.
You come out through that door.
Uh huh.
I tried to like go back and find the door before you do anything else, but you can't.
Oh,
find it.
you couldn't find it until
have
you
to
got
go
down the
through it
first time?
Which
Yeah.
I find a little obnoxious.
Interesting. This is where the game starts to get goofy here. I went around town and this little dog took up with me. They're like, "Well, you found my little Johnny."
Yeah.
There's a quest where you have to find this. I guess this little kid or
Yeah.
whatever. And this dog, they're like, the dog will help you find Johnny.
Yeah.
And so the dog starts following me around everywhere, but I never found Johnny. And I just left to town and the dog was still with me.
Yeah.
And it ended up
Oh,
dying
weird.
somewhere. I don't remember where, but I never found Johnny and the dog died. So
Well,
that
I
was
feel
kind
like
of sad.
You can't actually. You talking about the kid, Johnny?
Yeah.
You can't actually find Johnny. He's underground. There's like a
What?
spring or
The
something. you
dog
talk
was
to him.
barking at a whale.
Yeah.
Lassie joke,
Yeah.
by the way, cultural reference. Like I
course.
said, it's starting to get wacky. As a matter of fact, it's almost too much. You're talking to the dog, and it's like, if you recall the old joke from Lassie, it's like, "Oh, Lassie, where is it? Little Timmy?
Yeah.
He's down the well?" They do that exact scene from Lassie in Fallout 2.
Yeah.
So I go down the well, and he's not there. I'm like, well, I guess I'm never going to find him, and I never tried
Yeah.
anything else. It also has the, quote, chicken. Did you go into that locked building that
I
was guarded by dogs? You can give them some beef jerky to, make them happy, and then
Yeah.
go in there, and there's a freaking death claw in there. The
Oh,
lady
I
who's
didn't
running
know.
the inn, she gets eggs from the death claw, I guess.
Oh, I didn't see that.
She makes death claw omelets. But anyway,
Yeah.
if you open that door, that death claw starts whooping your ass. But the goofy thing here, the Lassie thing is goofy, and then you have to do a quest where you have to blow up an outhouse, basically,
Yeah.
and the town is covered in shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first
very
game,
wacky, yeah.
the first game had its own type of humor, but it was a darker toned game.
Yeah.
Um,
It's got a dark tone, and yeah,
it was not wacky and it was not funny, really.
Yeah.
There was a quirkiness because like the 50s vibe and the cartoon,
Yeah.
character that's associated with the game. But it was not wacky. This game is wacky.
Yeah.
So what they did in the first game, it was a small team and they were all working on the whole game together. And it's a much smaller game.
Yeah.
So they put in a few like pop culture references, but their rule was if a person didn't get the reference, they should not have any idea that anything happened.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get the reference, you wouldn't have even known that it happened in the first game. In the second game, each team, you had like 2 or 3 people who were working on each separate section of the game. So like this person would work on New Reno. This person would work, these 2 would work on Klamath. These people would work on the Den. These people would work on Vault City. And they didn't have a lot of communication with each other, and they didn't have a lot of oversight, they weren't managed too closely. So what happened is everybody took the pop culture reference thing from the first game, and they all did their own pop culture references in the second game as it was being made. But the problem was every team was sort of putting in, it's like if every team was like, well, I just used a couple, 2 or 3 pop culture references, but it's like every team was doing that. And so by the time you get to the end of the game, there are dozens of sort of meta and immersion breaking, wacky, goofy pop culture references and scenarios that you end up getting in the game, which did not ruin the playthrough for me, but it definitely changes the tone of the game.
Yeah.
It turns it into something a little different. I have not played these new Fallout games. I think we're going to for the show.
Yeah.
I think we're going to play Part 3 and New Vegas and Part 4. I think those are a little goofier, and I bet that's sort of where it came from is Fallout 2. The pop culture goofiness. Am I right or wrong about that?
Well, they're definitely not as heavy-handed in the pop culture references section. I don't know if they're really goofier.
They're not?
They're not really goofier.
Okay.
As a matter of fact...
In that case, Fallout 2 may be the goofiest game in the whole...
Yeah, I think it is.
I wouldn't say the game is goofy. It's just it has goofy moments.
Wacky is the word
You're playing a game that's sort of heavy with like sex and drugs and slaves and like heavy shit going on. And then all of a sudden, you'll be walking on the map and you'll get a special encounter and there's the shuttlecraft crashed into the dirt and the crew of the Enterprise is laying dead on the ground.
Yeah,
just
there's
wacky stuff.
There's
that
ghosts.
happens.
There's aliens in this game. There's you have the bridge keeper. The bridge keeper from Monty Python: The Search of the Holy Grail.
Yeah. You know
Special
the wackiest
encounter.
thing that I can think of from Part 1, just off the top of my head? There's a special encounter. I think this happens in Part 1. There's a special encounter where you'll find an alien spaceship that's crashed.
Yeah.
And you can get a blaster pistol from it.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Oh, I don't even think I knew that.
But if that pistol, by the way, it's absolutely slaughters. That if you ever get that encounter, you got to get that pistol because
I'll
it
have to
will
do that.
absolutely like
I've
the
never
game
had
is
that.
easy mode after you get that pistol. You don't need anything else. You just destroy everything.
The first one had a sense of humor, but it was much darker and it was more focused on its themes. And kind of overconsumption stuff.
Vault City is the next city.
Yeah.
Okay. Vault City, I think, is where the game starts to get kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Vault City is an actual city. Like these other places are kind of little goofy towns or whatever. Vault City is a city. It's got a fence.
Yeah. And that is one of the cool things about Fallout 2 is you start to see like a little bit more rebuilding, a little bit more structure.
Yeah. It's been 80 years.
Yeah.
You're going to have something happen in 80 years.
Yeah.
In Fallout 1, it was mostly little towns or big towns. But
Yeah, Fallout 1
towns.
was like 60 or 70 years after the bombs dropped, basically.
And
This is, an extra 80 years, so you now have some like stuff springing up.
you've got powers springing up. You've got technology
Vault
spreading.
City, you got the NCR.
Right. So Vault City these are the denizens of Vault 8, and they have created a city. Now inside the city, and what's interesting about this game too is that every settlement, or a lot of the cities have their own forms of government, so you can compare and contrast.
Yeah.
That makes them really interesting too. So Vault City, it's a nice, beautiful city, pristine, almost sterile inside.
Yeah.
They're all wearing their jumpsuits. Everyone is sort of high class and elite. It's an elite city.
Yeah.
They don't allow any drugs inside, no gambling, no drinking, nothing like that. Outside of the city is like a sprawl. It's like a shithole. You've got people living in squalor.
Yep.
I guess living outside the city just to sort of get whatever benefit they can get from living outside of this wonderful city, but they won't let them in. You have to have a day pass just to get in.
Yeah.
You have to be out by 6. And to get the full benefits and to live in the city, you have to be a citizen of this town.
Yeah.
So part of this game is you can become a citizen you're trying to find out. You're still trying to track down the Gek, which has brought you to Vault City to start with, and you're part of the. You're thinking, well, if I become a citizen, I might be able to go into their vault and use their computer and get some information and blah blah blah. So Vault City is pretty cool. The first citizen is a total bitch, and she will kick you out of the town for nothing.
Yeah.
You cannot say one wrong word with her. I just went around
I don't
her.
even think I talked to her this playthrough. I know I've talked to her before.
I talked to her one time, and then I dealt with the number 2 guy after that. I didn't talk to her ever again.
I weirdly, this playthrough, there's a whole plot line between this town and Gecko, which is a nearby town. I did that plot line, and he didn't say anything about making me a citizen, but suddenly I was just a citizen, which is interesting.
Weird. I tried to take the citizenship test, but apparently you have to have a really high IQ, or not intelligence and perception, maybe something else, and mine wasn't high enough.
You have to have high luck.
Luck, yeah. I didn't have the stats.
Because I tried to go back, I was like, okay, well, I'll just take some Mentats. I had a Sulik with me. I snuck him in through Sulik. Because they don't search him, they don't search you.
That's
So I got
hilarious.
some Mentats out, but it didn't work.
What you just said is one of the things I love about Fallout.
Yeah, no. I love that.
They
kind of
search
stuff.
you before you go into the town, so you don't bring any chemicals in. But you snuck them in through your mule.
Yeah.
Your partner Sulik.
Although I also had Lenny with me, who was a ghoul companion. You had to leave him outside of Vault City.
They wouldn't let him in.
They're like,
There's no way they're going to let him in.
Yeah.
No, the first citizen hates ghouls.
Yep.
And actually, there's a town called Gecko right next door, and they have power plant, which is leaking.
Yeah.
And the first citizen basically is like, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I'd like you to, sabotage their plant and take out the town, is what she really wants you to do. I didn't do that.
Me neither.
My character
like the
wouldn't do a
ghouls.
thing like
Yeah.
that. So I actually went over to Gecko and fixed the power plant. And then instead of
Me too.
reporting back
Yep.
to the first citizen, because she doesn't want you to do that,
Yeah.
I reported to the second citizen.
That's what I did.
And he's like, hey, who cares what she says? You're a citizen. You're in. Thank you very much. So that's what I did. And then I got in there and checked the computer and went on my merry way. There's some random stuff you can do here. Like I got a plow for a guy. And there was this one quest I have never accomplished ever where this woman needs a set of pliers and a wrench. I
did
found
that
a
this time,
wrench like 26 hours later
Yeah.
in the game, but I never brought it back.
There is somewhere buried nearby there where you can get all of that stuff. And I don't remember where it is.
I have never completed that quest. I have no idea.
As a matter
how
of
to
fact, I
complete
think
that quest.
I think it might be Gecko.
I would replay this game just to try to figure that one stupid quest out. I bet you probably get 500 experience points. There's nothing to it, but I would just love to do that one quest.
That quest is one way. Okay, so the reason I did that quest was because I was trying to get a car. In the den, there's a guy named Smitty who has a car you can buy from. But you have to get a fuel cell for it. Fuel cell controller.
Right.
There's a guy in Gecko who has a fuel cell controller, but he wants a super toolkit for it. And if you talk to that woman, which by the way, if you have Vic in your party, that's interesting because she's actually Vic's daughter, the woman in Vault City.
Oh yeah.
You get her the wrench and the pliers, and you can get a super toolkit.
Okay.
Because she supposedly ordered the super toolkit, but they didn't arrive, and they arrived the day after you get it. You give her all that stuff,
Vault City,
and you take it, and you get the car.
Vault City, the people are kind of this is a society that's polite, sort of.
Yeah.
But they're very elitist. They have slaves, but they call them servants.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
get really pissed if you call them slaves.
Yeah.
Don't call them slaves.
No, it's definitely a society where it's like they're putting the front of like civility, but it's really not.
I went to the slave pen, as I'm going to
Yeah.
call it, whatever they call it, something like the servant allocation
Of course,
center.
yeah,
I went
yeah.
to the servant allocation center.
Yeah.
And this woman said her husband was trapped in there. And
Yeah.
so I went in there to see what I could do. And I talked the guy in charge. I tricked him into thinking this guy had some kind of disease that you couldn't screen for.
Oh, interesting.
And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'll let him out immediately. One funny thing about Fallout 2, like something like that should never work.
Yeah.
The game is a little loose sometimes on what it will let you get away with, but whatever. It's fun. It's a game.
Yeah.
I think it's still cool anyway. So
I think I tried to do
that
that.
happens a lot though, where you're like, that worked. I can't believe that actually worked.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I actually got myself in trouble sometimes because I wouldn't take a dialogue option, thinking there's no way that works, and
Oh,
then that was
interesting,
what
yeah.
I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Overthinking it, After Vault City, you go to Broken Hills. I went to Broken Hills. I mean, you could go to
you can
the
go
end of
anywhere,
the
really.
game at first if you wanted to. The game is an open map. You can
Yeah.
go any direction you want to.
Well, yeah, famously, one of the speed run tactics you can do is you can do a Navarro run, where you go to Navarro first, and you can get some really good equipment like first thing.
Oh man, I love it.
But you have to be lucky to.
See,
Yeah,
this game, we've got games like Ghost of Tsushima and The Witcher 3, giant open worlds with tons of things to do. This is the 1998 version of that.
yeah.
You've got a big open map. You can go anywhere you want to go. There's no limitation. You can go to any place you want to right off the bat.
Yeah.
And if you can get the best weapons and armor 4 minutes into the game, you can do that. You just have to figure out a way to do it. And you can. You can beat the game in like 10 minutes or something ridiculous, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, the first game for sure, even if you're not speed.
First game you can beat in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you can beat it
literally.
very quickly. Yeah.
You can beat the second
Less than half
game
an hour.
in something like 10, 20 minutes for sure.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact time. But Broken Hills, this is a town with a super mutant sheriff. Now, if you played the first game, super mutants were the big bads.
Yeah.
You go into this town and there's a super mutant in charge. Like, what is going on? So the theme of this town, this town has a racial tensions.
Yeah.
Every town sort of has its own thing. Vault City was the elites, and it was like inequality and elitism and polite society that does terrible things, but they use euphemisms, etc., to whitewash their own, terrible actions. Broken Hills is a sort of a little mining town, working class people, but they just got good old fashioned racial strife going on. And as a matter of fact,
Which I did nothing. I went to Broken Hills. I did nothing in Broken Hills
Really?
in this game for some reason. I don't know why.
here's what makes this game fun to me. Like, some people are completionists and they're like, I've got to do everything. I got to solve every quest. And let me tell you something. You can spend 80 hours easy on this game if you want to do every little quest in every town. Absolutely. And you couldn't do every quest in one playthrough. You have to make different characters and get different.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get any companions. You get quests from having companions, so there's no way I could have done those without the companions. Anyway, if you do all the quests, you can spend so many hours, all the time you want to. My version of the game is I just did basically what I felt like doing. I didn't do the absolute least amount possible, but I didn't feel any compulsion whatsoever to
much.
do all the quests or to try to do everything. I'm just trying to keep the game fun. So I went here, I talked to some people. This poor, you go to this ghoul's house and he's sweating and flies around and you're like, dude, what's the problem? And he's like, it's so hot in here. I need just a little more power to keep the air running. And you go talk to the guy who's in charge of the power grid there and you're like, what's the deal? And he's like, well, we can't just do it. And then if your guy's intelligent enough, he's like, yeah, you can. He's like, well, yeah, I can. And then he just does it. And you get experience points. This is I mean, that's literally how it plays out.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All right, I'll give him some more power. 5,000 experience. Bling, bling, bling.
Yeah.
So I did solve a murder here.
Oh, interesting.
Speaking of the racial, it's something like super mutants versus regular people.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who's killing people
Yeah.
and like hiding them in the tunnels. If you go digging around in the tunnels long enough, you'll find a place where all these bodies are buried.
Yeah.
And you can report that to the sheriff, and he takes care of it. So I did do that. There was a quest I wanted to come back and do, but you needed power armor, and I never came back to do it.
Yeah,
so
the mine, I never came back to that.
what's funny is you get this 10-pound piece of equipment, which 10 pounds for my guy can hold 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So this is 10% of my inventory. I carried this thing around the entire game.
Yeah.
Thinking, I'm going to come back and do it. I'm going to come back and do it. The
Yeah.
entire game, I carried this stupid thing around and beat the game with it in my inventory and never used it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But it's a cool town. You can arm wrestle this guy if you're strong enough.
Yeah.
And you get a power fist, which I would never use and have never used.
Well, I think, isn't that the town with Marcus in it? See the sheriff? Super mutant sheriff?
Is that his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
With the minigun?
Yeah, you can get him
You
as
can get
a
him as
companion.
yeah, you can.
He's a good companion too, as I
And
remember. I
he's-
didn't get him this game playthrough, but
He's a beast. He's got
Yeah.
the minigun. He just decimates. You can, speaking of wackiness, there's a scientist in this town that's training a scorpion.
oh, I remember that. Yeah,
If
yeah.
you play the game, you've probably seen it. And he's like, my scorpion is super smart, super fast, and is perceptive or whatever. And like, you can do 3 tests. You can do a perception check, an agility check, and an intelligence check
Yeah.
against him. And I did the 2 out of the 3, but I couldn't beat the thing at chess.
Yeah.
But it's part of a
Chess.
quest. So to do the quest, you have to talk to this plant, this intelligent plant,
Yeah.
and he tells you how to beat the scorpion at chess. And then you do that. It's so wacky. Like, I don't know. A lot of times that kind of stuff in the game might bother me. For some reason, I accept it in Fallout 2, and it's okay. But it's a good source of experience points
Yeah.
if you want to do that. You said you didn't do much in this town?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I didn't do anything in this town.
Well, let me ask you, like, to me, these first few villages, like, every town is better than the last one. Do you agree with that?
I guess not really.
No? It's going to be different for every person.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like there's interesting stuff going on in all these towns, but for some reason, I personally just am not interested
Yeah.
in the towns. I guess for some reason, I'm not sure why.
There's tons of stuff I didn't do. Like, you can find the locket in Modoc
Yeah,
and, like, exonerate the guy who's been accused of stealing it.
yeah,
You can find this little, I think it's a kid named Johnny, which I never found. I stole their dog, didn't find the kid.
yeah. Johnny's sitting down there with the slags. There's like a place in the north where there's like a spring or something. and
You can
talk
get
to
into
him.
all kind of gang shenanigans in the den. I didn't
Yeah.
really do a ton of that.
I don't think about it. I really didn't do much in this playthrough. I don't think, except for just do the main game.
One thing I want to impress
some
upon
reason,
you,
yeah.
and you don't realize it maybe with one playthrough, but because it relies on different character builds to do different things and circumstances,
Yeah,
there are tons of things you can do in this game.
yeah,
And it depends on lots of things. Like, you'll go through the game and you just won't realize all the stuff you missed simply because you don't have enough speech or
Yeah.
you don't have enough
No, for
intelligence or you have too much intelligence.
yeah,
So, for example, later in the game, all right, you can create a block of a character with like a 1 intelligence,
Yeah.
and he can do almost nothing. He can barely even speak.
yeah,
He just grunts. There is an advantage to having a character with a intelligence under 4 in a
Yeah.
few circumstances. So,
interesting.
for instance, if you remember and we're talking about near the end of the game when you have to sneak into this guy's office to get the fob,
Yeah,
you pretend to be a janitor. Well, if you have a normal intelligence or like a higher intelligence, the guy's like, oh, okay, well, now's not a good time. Come back in an hour.
yeah,
And you come back and then you pretend to be the janitor and you do all that stuff. If your intelligence is under 4, he just says, okay, come on in.
interesting.
Just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah,
But you can't do, like, there are tons of quests you can't even do if you're
Yeah, no.
intelligence is too low because you literally cannot communicate with
although
people.
what is kind of funny is when you talk to Tor at the beginning, who's also sort of a
Yeah,
low intelligence character.
intelligence.
It has like subtitles on it where they're each just like, and it has like what they're actually trying to say to each other.
Oh,
in
that's
subtitles,
funny.
which is pretty funny.
There's a great playthrough. Tim Kaine, who's the guy who basically the brainchild and the driving force of Fallout 1, and
Yeah.
who worked on this game a little bit at the beginning but then left Interplay. There's a great playthrough online on YouTube if you want to search for it, where he and Leonard Boyarsky, who was the lead artist for the first game,
Yeah.
they sit down and they do a playthrough of Fallout 1.
Yes, highly recommend.
2 hours of the game
Yeah.
anyway. And he creates a character with, I think he had a 1 intelligence. And it's hilarious
He said he just
because he
liked
just
those kinds of
goes through
characters.
and
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, he named him Potato.
Yeah.
And he said he tried to recreate the very first character that he ever played the
Yeah.
game through with for this playthrough.
And apparently the very first character who ever beat the game.
That's
Anybody who
so
played,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, he said he was the first one ever, which makes sense. But he created this character with 1 intelligence, and he couldn't. It was so funny in the game because he was like, "Oh, I think I could do," because they're trying to remember the game that's been so long since
Yeah,
they
yeah.
played it, and they're talking about, "Oh, I think if I go over here, I can do this, and if I go over here, I can do that." But every time he tried to talk to somebody to get a quest, his guy
Yep.
was guy could not even speak enough to get the quest going, so he couldn't do
Yeah, yeah.
anything.
All the dialogue options just it's
What?
wild.
After Broken Hill's New Reno, which is probably 99.99% of people's favorite location if
Yeah.
you play this game, because this city is awesome and it's fun and it looks cool. Got gangsters all over the place. All right, it's like a Vegas type city.
Yeah.
Go in. There are junkies all over the place, but that's normal in Fallout. But you
Yeah,
also
yeah.
have these big casinos with these like 20s looking mobster guys with literally like grease gun Tommy guns.
Yeah.
You can get a Tommy gun in this town. And there are 3 or 4 different mobs basically, and you can choose any of them and do their quests. You can become a made man. Like I picked the Rights.
Yeah.
who it's funny. They're like they're sort of like the if you remember The Godfather, he didn't want to sell drugs. He
Yeah.
thought that was distasteful. These guys are kind of like that. They're kind of like the old school. Listen, we do a little gambling, a little women, a little booze. We don't sell the jet. We don't sell the chems.
Yeah.
We don't do the drugs. So that was the guy I chose.
You gotta have a line somewhere, I guess.
All the quests are so cool in this place. So the first quest for this guy is his son. You find out his son OD'd on jet.
Yeah.
And the old man, I can't remember exactly if I think he said, my son, my family, we don't do drugs. So somebody set him up. So you look into it and you have to go around and you interview all these people. And what's funny is you get contradictory stories from there are basically 3 people you're looking into, or 4.
Yeah.
And you talk to all 4 of them. And even after you talk to all 4 of them, you still don't know who did it. You're like, well, hell, now what? Because a lot of times in games, they sort of have to force it so that you can solve the quest. Well, you talk to all 4 of them and you're like, well, I still don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
What you have to do, now this is where the game gets a little, you could figure this out, but I could see you talking to these 4 people and then you're like, well, now what do I do? And then you just wander around talking to everybody and spend hours effing around and killing time and you still don't know what to do. But once you hear it, it makes perfect sense. So I went to his room in his house, and you can talk to the brothers and like, oh, can I look at his room and just check it out and see what's in there?
Yeah.
Well, if you search the kid's room, you find an empty jet container. You take the empty jet container to whoever, and they'll, some guys are like, well, oh, it looks like an empty jet container. But one of the guys who's essentially sort of scientist kind of guy, he looks at it and says, oh, this has been spiked with rad scorpion poison.
Oh, damn.
So you find out he was poisoned and killed by a rival gang member, I think. And anyway, that's how you figure the quest out.
Yeah.
So very cool. I actually am ashamed to say I had to go to the old walkthrough on that one. I mean, I did as much as I could, but I got stuck. And like I just told you, instead of wasting time, I just let me just see the very next thing to do. And it says search his room. And I was like, oh my God, see, I never would have done that.
Yeah.
Never. New Reno is cool. What did you end up doing here? Did you do a bunch of stuff here, or did you just kind of blaze through it?
I kind of blazed through it, actually. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure why I didn't do much of the side quests, but I just kind of blazed through it.
Honestly, New Reno really doesn't feel integral to the story at all, because
Maybe that's why, because there's most of the towns that really are like.
there is actually
nothing to do
one
with
thing that you can get here for the story to complete the game, but it's just sort of it feels like something they just kind of tacked on. It's like, oh, we need something important in New Reno. Let's just put this thing here for no reason.
Yeah.
The voice recognition chip, like later when you fix Vault 13. Fix their computer and you need the voice system that's messed up.
I did get that, but I didn't get it from New Reno.
You can buy it in New Reno.
Okay.
So one of the arms dealers, he's like, I have something, quote, special, a piece of old Vault Tech equipment. You can have it for like $3,000. What's funny is, so I go through New Reno, I leave, I do like 20 hours or whatever of gameplay. I get to that point where you need that part.
Yeah.
I find out you can get it in New Reno. So I go back. The guy's like, I'll give it to you for $3,000. And I had just spent like all my, I'd spent all my bottle caps. By the way, if you don't know, bottle caps are currency in this game. I'd spent all my caps on a fake Elvis painting, or a velvet Elvis painting that actually is a map to Vault 13. But it costs you 10,000 caps. And then I bought some other things. I had no money. Yeah. So I get to this guy and he's like, I need 3,000 caps. So I'm like, well, surely I can trade for it. And in a town like New Reno, it's full of gambling and prostitution. I could not find anybody with caps. I was going to the gun, like the arms dealers. I was going to the drug dealers. Nobody had money.
That's a perpetual problem.
I couldn't steal
Nobody
it.
has money.
I couldn't trade for it.
Yeah.
So I just, I was a beast at that point. I had super duper power armor. I had my 223 pistol and my sniper rifle and stuff. So I just went into the casinos and started clearing out mobsters. I killed the entire Salvatore family. I killed the entire Mordino family. Just went upstairs. Hey, can I talk to the boss? Bam! Started shooting. Shut my way out. And took everybody's money, and I just barely had enough to buy the part. I had to do it, unless I wanted to go, all over traipsing all over the map to get the money.
Oh man, I kind of want to tell a quick story, but it's has nothing to do with this
just
section
tell
of the
it.
game.
Just make it quick.
After I beat the game, I played the game. When I play games, I can't help but just be like a good character, an overwhelmingly good character usually.
I do the same. Like sometimes I want to be evil, and it's your personality. It just takes over.
I don't have any desire to do that, but I will occasionally. Sometimes there's just something comic about it, where you just like go into town, and you just like quick save and just slaughter everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So after you finish the game, you can keep playing if you want to. Mm-hmm. And I had Sulik-Ami in power armor. I just went to the middle of San Francisco and started shooting people.
Uh huh.
And the guards were trying to shoot me, but they kept missing, and they were bursting on their own citizens. A lot, like 4 or 5 times. They just like and just explode into like
that. By the way, what you just said is one of the most immersion-breaking, ludicrous. That wackiest thing in this game, more than any cultural reference or goofy thing that happens, is like you said. You'll have the policemen in a town fight you or whatever, and they just start opening fire. And if a citizen is in their way, they are turned into Swiss cheese.
No.
And nobody cares. Nobody's like, oh my god!
It's like
nobody's running away.
Every time they would try and shoot me, they would just like burst fire and like shoot some kid and just like blow him up. Something like that.
It's hilarious with any kind of burst fire weapon, and it's hilarious with a rocket launcher, and it's hilarious with a flamethrower.
Oh god!
Because they'll try to shoot you or whatever with a flamethrower or the enemy and miss and set like 2. You know, some poor mother just set her on fire and she'll be ashes on the floor.
Well,
and nobody cares. Like, they just keep going like nothing happened. You're like, okay, this is kind of taking me out of the game just a little bit.
And I remember in Fallout 1, in the military base, I tried to go in the front door, and there's like 3 super mutants there. One of them has a rocket launcher. Closed in space, and he'll just like blast you with it and kill everyone, including himself, every time.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It cracks
By
me
the
up.
way, the rocket launcher in these games freaking sucks. Now, this is realistic because if you blew somebody up with a rocket launcher, if they had something in their pocket, it's gone.
Yeah.
But it is a game. It's like, if you blow someone up in this game, all their equipment is toast.
Yeah.
So why would I ever use a rocket launcher? Because I don't want to lose the equipment.
I never used a rocket launcher.
Yeah, if you use a rocket, well, even if like when a super mutant kills something in the first game, that's how I learned about it. Like the super mutants just blowing stuff up, and every time you search that body, there's nothing.
Huh.
So it was clear to me that they were. I can't remember the exact circumstances. I think I was trying to get something, and it kept getting blown up, and I couldn't get the thing I needed.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, you just can't use a rocket launcher because you lose the stuff. The loot's gone. Anyway, the violence in these games is over. You can turn it down if you don't like that stuff. Like there's a meter, but you can also get a trait that actually amps it up even further. Where like things are just blowing up and setting on fire, and people are
which is very well. Yeah, it's
just insane.
It just defaults the death animation to always whatever the most ridiculous and extreme thing is.
So New Reno's awesome. Really, mostly unimportant to the story. You do find out there's a guy here who invented jet. And later in the game, when I was powerful, I came back just because I could, and I thought this guy was a piece of shit. So I just came back, snuck into the building, and killed him and left. Yeah. And that was it. I didn't bother really. Well, some people tried to stop me from leaving, and I had to, take care of them. But otherwise, I just got in and got out and took care of that guy. After New Reno, you go to NCR, which is the New California Republic. This is another one of those. This was, if you played the first game, Shady Sands, becomes the New California Republic. And one of the people that you can save in the first game. So there are a few threads from Fallout 2 that bring you back to Fallout 1. Number one is you are a direct descendant of the main character from Fallout 1, the Vault Dweller.
Yeah.
And in this town of NCR, there's actually a statue dedicated to the Vault Dweller right outside the lawmaking congressional, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, sorry.
The president of NCR is Tandy, who you can save as a child in the first game. She was taken by the cons. And you have to, actually, when I played Fallout 1, I didn't save her, but
that's fine.
in the official version of the story, the Vault Dweller saves her.
She got it somehow.
She made it out.
It's fine.
The Vault Dweller saves her, and then she comes back, and her father, who was the chief of the village, and eventually she becomes the president of the New California Republic / the NCR. Now, the NCR, they are pretty lawful. They don't really have problems with drugs or gambling, though when you do go into that one shop to buy weapons, there's a gambling table in the back room. When you try to go in the door, the guy asks you for a password, which I never learned.
Yeah, I don't think
I bet you have to have basically a bad reputation or something like that to get the password, because
maybe
I never got it. The guy who ran the shop, I assume you get it from him. He never offered to tell me, or there was no dialogue option for me to get it. So they have no problem with drugs and stuff like that or whatever. And it's because there are police everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere you walk in that whole town, there are policemen dressed in like standard policeman blues
Yeah.
all over the place with weapons, just waiting for you to screw up so they can blow you away.
Yeah, NCR is kind of the opposite. They're kind of an interesting faction in the series of. They're kind of the opposite of Vault City, where Vault City is very insular. The NCR is like almost kind of like an imperial power that's kind of branching out, and they sort of take over everything. Because they're also a problem in New Vegas later.
Are they a problem?
Yeah.
They seem mostly
I say
okay.
a problem. They're a faction.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. They seem mostly okay in this game. Like they're not. I can't remember the exact circumstance between them and Vault 15, which is right next door.
Yeah.
But the people who were in Vault 15 were terrible. So even if they
Yeah.
took them out, it would have been a service to the whole game.
Yeah.
But they seem pretty good. Tandy's pretty good. They just try to keep order, but the way they keep order is through extensive policing.
Well, they do, and I don't. I'm trying to think of.
and
is
right
that-
outside, what's
I'm
funny
trying to
is
think
right
of-
outside the NCR is a slave pen.
Yeah.
Which I did. Now I had a little bit of, I had some armor and I had some weapons at this point. So you can join the Rangers, which
Yeah,
I did,
I
which
did
is
too,
an
yeah, yeah.
anti-slavery organization. And they're like, hey, it's so funny the things they ask you to do in this game.
Yeah.
It is a game, so I love it. But if you think about it, like, why would you ask a stranger to do this? So they're like, hey,
Yeah.
we'll let you in the Rangers if you can prove. I think they ask you to take care of that specific.
They do.
Problem.
They went outside.
Hey, if you go out there and kill 20 people by yourself and free
Yeah.
all the slaves, we'll let you in.
Yeah.
It's like, you're asking me to do that? But anyway, I did it.
Yeah.
And joined the Rangers.
I'm trying to think of specific examples from this game, but the NCR, they branch out and they sort of take over everything. Or they try to. They sort of dismantle the local cultures and stuff like that.
And at the
in
credits,
areas. Yeah.
you can see that that's starting to happen
Yeah.
anyway.
And
I
they
think
do the same thing in New Vegas. That's a problem.
Yeah.
In the game too.
Did you have to talk the guy out of blowing himself up?
I tried to, but I couldn't actually do it. I did
It
a
took
few
me about
times,
5 tries.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where the dialogue option to do it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But I just tried different iterations and
It might be
finally
why,
it worked. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I think
Yeah.
that could have been. I think they could have fixed the conversation there a little bit to make it a little more obvious what you're supposed to do. But it was sort of luck.
Yeah.
If you got that on the first try, you kind of just got lucky. But anyway, yeah, I finally did it. But there are like 6 ways to screw it up and 1 way to get it right. And if you
Yeah.
mess up, he just blows himself up. So I save scummed. I will say, I don't like to save scum in general, but this
Yeah.
game, I don't care at all. I'll
I
save
did a
scum.
lot. I did a
Every
lot
time I
Fallout 1
stole
too.
from someone, I saved beforehand. If they
Yeah.
caught me, I would reload a save.
How can you not if you have a game where you can save anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a situation like that where really just getting it right is sort of trial and error, I'm save scumming. I don't care. I'm just trying to enjoy the game. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
So I got a lead on the vault. So you're looking for Vault 13 the whole time. You just want to find Vault 13 because you feel like you're going to be able to get a GEC out of Vault 13. At some point in the game, I don't remember all the threads, but you're following threads. You follow Vic the
Yeah.
Trader. It takes you, to New Reno and blah, 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 and all over the place. You're like, oh, I need to find Vault 13, which is cool because that's the original vault the Vault
Yeah.
Dweller came from.
Yeah, the lower right corner of this map is the same as the upper left corner of the original map.
I did some work. No one would let me do anything in NCR except this guy named Weston. So I helped his Brahmin. And then I got a line on this scientist who had a map. And it turned out the map, quote, quote, was actually on the back of a crappy painting. But he would only let me have the painting for 10,000
Yeah.
caps. I couldn't steal it.
Yeah.
It was on his person. You couldn't kill him and take it. None of that.
Which is obnoxious.
So
They
I
did
just
a lot
had
in this
to
game.
get them. I came back way later. We already talked about that, but
Yeah.
I came way later. I actually forgot about it until
That's
way later in the game, and I came back when I actually had money. After this, you go to Vault 15. Now, this is freaking horrific. Vault 15, you got these people who can't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And inside the vault are the cons, who are a gang.
Yeah, they're gang.
They, steal, rape, murder, all that kind of awful stuff. And I ended up having to help to save some girl named Christy. Girl, I say girl, she's probably like young, I don't know, old teenager, young adult, something like that, who apparently was being kidnapped, who had been kidnapped and was being sort of raped by the cons. That was, they didn't use the word rape, but that was basically what was happening.
Yeah.
It was actually very easy to talk them out of it. They're like, all right, just take her back. It's like, oh, that's how we resolve this rape situation?
Oh, interesting.
So
I don't think I talked him out of it.
I just made a little check in my mind, like, okay, I'll see you guys later. And when I had power armor, I came back later, I took out all of those guys that were doing that.
I think I just had like a sniper rifle.
Freaking
or something at that
horrific.
point, and I just like sniped him.
Yeah.
I didn't even like mess with it.
Yeah. I talked him out of it.
Yeah.
And it was actually weirdly easy.
Or no, wait. Yeah, I think I went to the shack where she is, and I walked up. The guy talks to you, and I guess he just initiated combat. I guess I didn't give him the right responses,
Yeah.
so I didn't have any opportunity to do that.
You go into Vault 15, and when you get to I wanted to go to the very bottom so I could search the computers, but there's a guy in there, and for some reason, he wouldn't speak to me at all. Darian.
Yeah.
He would not speak to me. As soon as I went in there, he just started firing, and there are like 10 guys in that room. Did you speak to him?
You did talk to me the first time. I actually just snuck around him. Amazingly worked, yeah.
I guess I didn't have the sneak because I tried to do it, but it
Sneak
wouldn't
skill
work.
was low. It wasn't high. It was like 25%.
I might have just been unlucky. Here's what sucks too. You can get the location of Vault 13 from one of those computers.
Yeah.
But I used one of the computers and it gave me something. I'm blanking a little bit. Anyway, I didn't know that. Yeah, you can get the location of Vault 13 here, but it's so easy to miss it. It's not clear. You have to hit a certain computer or do something particular to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I messed with one of the computers, but not that one. Like, I think I used a different computer, and I didn't get the information. I had to come back way later.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. That felt pretty lame to me. I guess.
That was where I got the Vault 13 location.
Yeah, I was really pissed at myself.
Yeah.
Because I ended up paying 10,000 caps for it. I could have got it from that vault.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway. Mariposa Military Base, which is next, which is also cool because that's also from part 1. So part 1, you go through it, you come back to it in this game 80 years later, it's a total wreck. But for some reason, it's still full of super mutants who would cave my skull in if I tried to mess with them. I did.
Oh, I didn't even know you go into it. I just went to the outside.
Here is how it's like an adventure game. Okay, the entrance is covered in rubble, but there's something about the message, they make it clear you can get in.
Yeah.
You're like, I know I can blow this up. There's a mine cart in front of it that says, oh, I think this could be pushed. But when you try to mess with the cart, he doesn't push it. Yeah. Okay, I guess I have to do something to it. You find nearby in a locked shed some plastic explosive.
Yeah.
Okay, clearly I'm supposed to use the cart, the explosive, and then blow the rock up with it. I try to put the explosive into the cart and push it into the rock. It just wouldn't happen. I tried to set the plastic explosive in front of the rock and it would blow up. Nothing would happen.
Yeah.
This is when I know, okay, I'm missing something extremely stupid. So I looked into a walkthrough. What you have to do, and this makes zero sense, but what you have to do is you can barely see on the ground, very close, there's a stick, a metal pole. You pick up the pole, you stick it on the cart. Why do you have to do that? I don't know. Then you put the plastic explosive on the pole, then you push the cart into the rock and it blows up, and then you can go into the
well, that would be
base.
why I never knew you could go into it.
I couldn't clear it out because the super mutants, I might could take one if you didn't have a rocket launcher, but it would have rooms full of super mutants. I just couldn't do it. So, but anyway, I found some good stuff in there. I found you can get these modules in the game that will improve your stats, like intelligence, and I got a module in there that I used later, so it was worth checking out. But yeah, you can totally skip the military base and not even do it.
I know I got something from there on the outside. I don't remember what.
Yeah, there's some locked building and you can get some stuff. Anyway, extremely lame. It LucasArts Sierra bullshit that you have to do to get in there. Makes no sense whatsoever. That's why you play this game with a walkthrough. I don't care. Use a walkthrough. Don't use it for everything. Just use it when you get that sinking feeling in your stomach. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I was messing around here and I got that feeling in the pit of my stomach. Yeah. Something stupid is going on here. Let me just look and see what it is. And I was right. It was stupid. San Francisco is next. This is the part of the game where I'm starting to feel like, okay, they were rushed for time. Yeah. Because you go into San Francisco and it looks cool. It's got like a Chinatown vibe.
Yeah.
This is where the Chinese, like part of the story is that the Chinese went to war with the United States. Yeah. And a submarine landed nearby here. and the Chinese people that survived the submarine crash ended up in San Francisco,
Yeah.
and they sort of founded this town. So it's full of Chinese people, and it's cool, and it's got some cool flavor, and there is some stuff going on here. But when you walk around, there are tons of buildings that are useless.
Yeah.
All the containers have nothing in them. It's just a bed and someone in there who says nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of lame. The Emperor is a computer, which was cool, but I found a bug here. I
really?
could have easily screwed myself. At some point, the number 2 guy's like, "Hey, all right, you know what? You've done one thing for me. I'll tell you all the secrets of the town. So just go through that room in
Yeah.
the back, and you can see the quote Emperor.
Yeah.
And you walk back there, and it's just a supercomputer.
Yeah.
But there's a force field there. You're supposed to be able to use repair skill on a force field.
Yeah.
To take out a yellow force field.
Which I did.
Which I tried, and nothing happened. It would not work.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of repair skill. It should have worked. So then I used an explosive next to it, and it would blink on and off. So I could wait till it turned off for a second and walk through it,
Yeah.
which was fine. But then when I initiated conversation, well, quote, conversation with the computer, and then when I finished that, it would close back. And if I tried to blow it up from the other side, there are 2 guards on this side of the gate.
fun.
So you would aggro everybody in the town. It's like, I can't do that. So I had to figure out another way to complete that quest instead of talking with the Emperor because it was bugged out. You didn't have that problem? Did you go back there?
I didn't go talk to the Emperor this game. I have done that before.
Did you do some stuff in this town?
I did a bunch of stuff in this town. I'm trying to remember what all I did.
Did you do any of the fights?
I didn't do any of the fights. I did explore the Hubologist place. Which is kind of a weird
Now that's
faction.
cool because I didn't really do any of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just to play on Scientology.
By the way, when I mentioned earlier that low intelligence helps sometimes,
Yeah.
with the Hubologists, low intelligence is helpful when you're talking to the
Oh, really?
lead guy, it turns out.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is actually a hilarious commentary on
Yeah, yeah.
Scientology. If you have a really low intelligence, it's easier to work with the with the
That
top
is
guy.
hilarious. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is like, think Scientology. So they've got celebrities
Yeah.
in the Hubologist
Yeah,
Center.
Juan Cruz and I forget the other ones. Vivian Goldman. Yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't do much with those guys, but
Well, they're kind of a weird faction. Now I didn't really go through their story. I should have joined them and just done that, but I didn't do that. And they don't really. I'm trying to think of what purpose they even serve. the
well,
story of
it's
the
one
game.
way that you can get. Can't you get you have to get fuel into a ship.
Yeah,
I think one way to do it is through the Hubologists. But I didn't.
I think that is how I did it.
What stinks about this place has the best merchant in the whole game.
Yeah,
This guy has got everything, and you can buy power. The first time I ever got the chance to even get power armor was here, but it was 60,000 caps. And it's like, yeah, there's no
Yeah.
way I'm getting that. I saw an awesome. I was watching a walkthrough, and a guy went straight to San Francisco, and he's like, "Oh, I need the power armor." So he needed to kill the guy while he had the power armor. The way he did it, he took plastic explosives, set the timer, did a trade with the guy,
Yeah.
put the plastic explosive in his inventory.
oh,
Just
that's
offered
hilarious.
it to him for free.
Yeah.
Snuck away, went into sneak mode, and then used a healing skill or something, which advances the timer by 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So when it does that, it just blows up and the guy dies. And you have no aggro. So then he could just take the power armor off his body.
That's
and some
hilarious.
mentats and
That's
whatever
awesome.
else. I know, it's hysterical. He did it on the, I think he did it on the president at the end
Yeah.
of the game too. Spoiler.
Yeah.
San Francisco was cool. This is like, you're getting toward the end of the game here. This is where
Yeah.
I finally, throughout the game, you're seeing these little Brotherhood of Steel. If you played the first one, you know who the Brotherhood of Steel is, or if you played the later ones. They have these places set up in different cities, and you try to talk to the Brotherhood of Steel guy, and they tell you nothing. They
Yeah.
just say, "We're watching you." And you talk to this guy, and he's like, "Listen, I'm going to level with you. We're not what we used to be. There's something called the Enclave. It turns out, beyond getting the Gek for your village, what you find out, there's a group called the Enclave, and they are encroaching on the mainland of the country.
Yeah.
And they've got a military base, they're building up forces, and they're about to start taking things over. And unfortunately, their technology is advanced, even beyond
Yeah.
what the Brotherhood of Steel had. Now, from the first game, the Brotherhood of Steel were the most technological society around.
Yeah.
They had the best technology. But at this point, 80 years later, they're not what they used to be. They're sort of keeping to themselves. but they're not strong enough to handle the Enclave, so they want to send you to go get the plans for this helicopter from a nearby Enclave base, which is what I did. Now you can get the plans for the Emperor of San Francisco, or you can get it for the biologist too, I think.
Yeah, I talked to the Emperor, or not the Emperor, but the guy in San Francisco, Shy.
Well, what you do is to get the most experience points, you do that quest for the Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah.
Then they give you copies of the plans, and you can also take it to the Emperor of San Francisco and get extra experience points.
You know, now that I'm talking about this, I'm realizing I didn't do a lot of the side quests. I didn't talk to anybody from the Brotherhood of Steel in this game.
I'm telling you, you're probably understanding it as we're talking about this. We didn't do. I mean, I could have done 4 or 5 times more quests than I did, and I played the game. I felt like I played it for a long time.
Yeah, no,
it's a long game with a lot of stuff.
And I feel like this kind of highlights a problem I have with this game. You know, if you're just doing the main quest, when you get to the Enclave at the end of the game, it really just kind of pops up on you. There's no hint of it anywhere in the game, unless, like you said, you talk to Brotherhood of Steel, which I didn't.
I think the first game was a little bit like, well, they breadcrumbed it a little better in the first game.
I think they did a lot. You don't have to do any like side quests to really get it. You can,
you know what? You're right about that. The Enclave did sort of pop. Like, oh, there's a thing called the Enclave, and they're the big bad guys. Like, oh, okay.
And they just show up like right at the end of the game. It's just like, oh, there you go. If you don't do like the Brotherhood of Steel stuff,
it's like the end of Final Fantasy IX. You remember that game?
Yeah.
You go through the whole game, and Kuja's the bad guy. You beat him at the end, and then, oh wait, there's this other guy who's even bigger and badder that you've never heard of at all, and now you have to fight him. The end.
You just have, you go back.
Spoilers. Spoiler.
You get the Gek. Go back to your village is destroyed. They say, oh, helicopters took our people south. That's kind of it. You have some encounters with Enclave people.
And I thought there was some kind of timer like the first game. First game, I don't remember if this has been patched out or not, but originally the game had a 150-day timer or something like that. So if you didn't get the water chip back to your village in the time limit, they all died. I thought that was going on in this game too, partially because you keep having the dreams. The guy's like, Chosen.
No, he just does
We're
that.
parched. We languish in the land. The waters are not. The crops are not growing. We die, Chosen.
Technically, the game has a 13-year timer, I think, in total, but you've never hit it unless you just sat there and waited.
I thought I had a time limit, so I was really booking it, and I was actually getting really stressed out. But it doesn't matter what you do, because when you go back, the whole town's decimated, and they've been captured by the Enclave.
Yep.
So anyway, San Francisco is like end game stuff. So what you have to do here is there's a ship that's docked.
Yeah.
The Enclave is the leftover remnants of the United States government, and their base is on an oil rig off the coast, which is what you find out in this area. They send you the Brotherhood of Steel or whoever sends you up north to an Enclave base called Navarro, which actually is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Because first of all, this is where the map of the game is huge, and about this point in the game is where it really was starting to drive me nuts, because you move across it pretty slow.
Yeah.
Maybe Fallout 1 was the same speed, but maybe things weren't far.
No, that's one of the
apart.
big problems I have with this game is the map is way too spread out. It takes forever to get anywhere, and the encounter rate is too high.
It takes forever. You can get a car, but I didn't do the quest.
Yeah. I did get the car.
Maybe it would be a lot better if you had the car. Maybe you can tell me if you think it was better with the car, but
no, it was better with the car. But
it sucked because
it sucks because it's its own like set of quest lines. It takes a long time, and
dude,
you still have to go through the entire map basically to get it.
The encounter rate was off the charts. Like every square you're going into, you're getting some stupid encounter, and and what stinks is you can run away from most of these things. It's no problem, but the reason it became a problem over here is between San Francisco and Navarro, you start running into Enclave patrols. And I don't care what you're wearing. You can have the best stuff in the whole game.
Yeah.
These guys can kill you at any point.
Yes, they will wreck you.
You mentioned it earlier, but the critical hits in this game are bananas.
Yeah.
So you'll take 2 damage, 3 damage. Critical hit in the side of your temple for 158 damage, and you're dead.
And really, it's a problem the entire game because the encounter rate is so high. And you run into these, like, raiders or whatever, and they have groups of, like, 10 people. Some of them have like hunting rifles and can hit you from across the map for like 40 damage and stuff like that.
Oh, these Enclave,
but it's especially
Enclave
a problem,
guys can
when you
snipe you all the way across the screen.
Yeah, it's especially a problem with the Enclave. Which that's one thing nice about the car, because if you have one of those encounters that's right next to you, You can just like walk over to it basically
Right.
and get into it pretty quickly.
Nice. So that was a problem for me. I died literally. I bet I had to reload here 15 times.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
And it got so bad that to actually get to the Navarro base, I would go to the next square, stop,
Safe.
go into the zone,
Yeah.
save it, and then go into the next square. And I still died a bunch of times. But that was
Yeah.
the only way I could get up there. And I was not a weak character,
Yeah.
particularly.
So
So
anybody else besides the Enclave guys I can destroy at that point.
yeah, the Death Claws, the aliens. Who cares about any, the Enclave guys would absolutely turn me into a puddle. It was ridiculous. Navarro though was awesome. You go there, and you have to talk yourself into
Yeah.
the base. But once you get there, they think you're a recruit.
Yeah.
That's how you talk yourself in. You say, "Hey, I'm a recruit sent over here," and like, then it turns into drill sergeant time. So.
Yeah.
You have to deal with this guy who's like, "What are you doing out of uniform? Did you lose your issue power armor? Go over to the armory and get yourself a new set of Mark II power armor." You go over and you finally get power armor,
Yeah.
which looks awesome. The power armor looks so good in these games. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And there's tons of cool stuff to do here. So you meet an intelligent Deathclaw downstairs.
Yep.
A psycho scientist. You meet a soldier whose nickname is Cookie, and she gets embarrassed if you call her that. You don't want to talk to the drill sergeant too much because he'll put you on guard duty.
Yeah.
And I
that's
just
hilarious.
waited. Did you do that?
No, I'm about to rant a little bit here in a second.
Okay. Well, I talked.
Yeah.
I went and got my power armor, and I went back to the drill sergeant and talked to him, and he says, "Okay, go on guard duty." So you're standing there, and then I just wait to see if anything happens.
Yeah.
And he just comes by to check on you 2 or 3 times, but it turns out I read about this. He'll just check on you forever.
Yeah.
It never
Oh,
ends.
interesting.
So don't go back. Don't talk to him again. Just do all the stuff you got to do on the
Yeah.
base and then leave. But I got the vertibird plans, which were a real problem because there's this guy standing right in front of the
Oh yeah.
locker,
Yeah.
and I could not get it. It was another one of those
Yeah.
moments where I feel like something stupid's happening. So I checked the walkthrough, and it said, "Oh, talk to this one scientist guy." And then after you talk to him, you can use him as an excuse to get
Yeah.
the technician dude to give you the plans.
Yeah.
But if you don't talk to one of those guys, it's not a dialogue option. What were you gonna rant? What were you gonna rant about?
Okay.
Let's hear
So
it.
I said earlier, one of the biggest indictments on this game, in my opinion, is the fact that I've never in my life beaten it without hacking my save file.
yeah.
This is where I did it the first time in this game. Yes, the first time. Because,
So you played through the whole game up until this point without
No, no,
hacking
no.
the save file.
yeah, without hacking everything. So I went to Navarro. I had the car. If you have the car, the guy at the front, Chris, whatever his name is, talks to you. And he says something, I don't remember what. And for whatever reason, it initiated combat. I don't remember why, just immediately.
Huh.
And I guess I didn't realize he radioed as quickly as he did, because if he radios, the entire base is on watch, and if you walk in there, they'll fight you.
Right.
I guess I didn't realize he radioed as quickly as he did, so I had to just take him out, and I saved my game, and I don't think I went into Navarro immediately or something. I don't remember what it was. Or no, wait, now I remember, because I went in Navarro in the base.
Yeah.
I tried to fight the first guy, and I was like, oh, I'll come back later. I got destroyed, of
Right.
course. And
Oh, so you just tried to go in there and wipe them out.
well, I couldn't. I have no option.
Yeah.
Because when the guy up front radios, it puts the whole base on alert for you.
Right.
So there's no talking to anybody in there.
I guess I had a different option because the Brotherhood said, "Listen, go up there and pretend you're a recruit."
Yeah.
So he told me what to do, and so when I talked to that guy,
Well,
that's what I could tell him.
Yeah, well, the issue is that I had the car, and he likes the car for some reason.
yeah.
And I don't know what I said, but it initiated combat, and he radioed instantly. So the base was on alert, and I tried so many ways to sneak into the base,
Yeah.
but you can't fight anybody because they're all power armor wielding Enclave
Monsters.
guys.
And there are tons of them, yeah.
So I said, okay, well, I just hacked my save file to make it not aggro on me.
Oh, you could do that?
Yeah.
Just turn off the aggression flag, basically?
Yeah, it has like
Wow.
flags for everything in there.
Yeah.
I had to. I couldn't get in there. I couldn't do anything. You can't
I don't
advance the
blame you.
game.
No, stuff like that happens sometimes. It's a little buggy and a little wonky.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get yourself in trouble.
And this is skipping ahead a little bit, but the first time I ever beat this game, I also had to flag the save file. because you fight the last boss, which we'll get to in a little while here.
Yeah, yeah,
Also
we'll
comes out of
definitely get
nowhere.
it. You will definitely get into that guy.
And there are turrets that by default will hit you. There's like 6 turrets, they do tons of damage. The battle is literally impossible if you don't change this.
I feel so sorry for people who had no access to resources
And I
back
had-
in the 90s trying to beat this game.
I would have had to have done the whole Enclave base over again.
Honestly, this is one of those games to me that is way more playable now than it ever
Yeah.
would have been in the 90s because
Yeah.
I want to walk through to save me from certain things.
And you talk about being point and click adventure-ish a little
Yeah.
bit. I can kind of see that. You say that it's like a little bit Sierra-ish.
It's got the same bullshit.
Yeah.
The walkthrough saved me a lot of time here too because I found out the fob was something you were going to need for the tanker, which I did not know. Which I didn't know from San Francisco. So at some point I would have learned about it and I would have had to come back here to get it.
Yeah.
But I found out I needed it, so I just got it while I was there the first time, which is nice. There's a smart death claw there, and it's so funny because you go into the room with the scientist. He's like, the rooms just happen to be soundproof because
Yeah.
I do horrific stuff in here and
Yeah.
nobody wants to hear it. He's like, oh, okay, game, you're telling me to murder this guy, which I did.
Which is dumb, but I admittedly found it kind of funny. It was like, oh, how convenient. This room is
Now-
soundproof.
I actually killed the death claw. What
Yeah.
did you do?
No, I saved him.
I was thinking, I do not want this thing because they were talking about it like it was devious, like scary. Like
Oh, I don't know.
it was intelligent, but not like it was scarily intelligent. Like it was going to turn into some kind of man-killing species thing. It's like,
Oh, I
I do
think
not
so.
want to let this thing
No.
get out of here. So I went in there and smoked it.
Really? You didn't? You can talk to him. Just a dude, basically.
I did. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does a little dialogue thing before
Yeah.
you did it, but then I smoked him.
No, I saved him, and I did the same thing. Well, I mean, I talked to all the death claws and.
Did we talk
Vault
about the
13.
death claws in Vault
Yeah.
13?
Yeah, I did. No, we didn't.
When you get to Vault 13, that was where the Vault Dweller was in the first game. The second game, it's full of intelligent death claws.
Yeah. Which
So-
I don't remember what the story was. I know the Enclave put them there. They created the intelligent death claws.
Yeah,
and
they were
put them there.
experimenting on these things. And
don't remember
because they
why.
wanted to use them as soldiers.
Yeah.
They wanted to make them smart enough to use in combat.
Yeah.
But they got a little too smart.
Yeah.
And now you've got this colony of them living in Vault 13.
Which I liked them. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I
And you
was
can-
shocked.
And you can
Walked in
get
there.
one of them as a companion, guy
Yeah.
named Gorus, which I did. And if you get him as a companion, he'll eventually when you're out about with him.
Now, here's what sucks. I was in Vault 13, and I was thinking, I don't want to steal anything from Vault 13.
Yeah.
My guy's a nice guy. This is the wrong way to think about games. When you get into too much role play territory, like, oh, I'm not going to steal from these
Oh, I
people.
think it's fine. I think it's
wrong, wrong.
good. I
because
think a well-made game should encourage that.
yeah,
Like Fallout 1.
yeah, but the problem was when you start in San
I know that's the
Francisco,
problem on this game.
There's a boat, a ship the Poseidon that you have to get gas. You have to get fuel for it. You have to get it Navcom, and you have to get the fob.
Yeah.
All three of those things are necessary to start the ship. You get the fob from the Enclave base.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you're supposed to know what's up there.
Yeah.
I think they give you some hint later. But the Navcom parts, they don't really tell you. They say something like, oh, it might be in a vault. Well, guess what? That's 3 at least potential locations in this game where it could be.
Yeah.
I'm not looking that up. So I went to a walkthrough again, and it said the Navcom parts are in a locker in Vault 13. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what I get for not looting the whole place. I have no reason to look in there or to know that the part was in there.
Which I did loot the place, and I just took it because it looked.
Yeah.
I was like, that looks important.
That's what I should
I
have done.
forgot about. Yeah. No.
So I had to go all the way back over this horrific map, by the way,
Yeah.
to all the way back to Vault 13 just to get the Navcom part and then bring it back.
No, I think that's a problem on the game that you have to do.
You get
do
the
it a
ship-
specific way.
You get the ship to work. The big bad guys, the Enclave, we're gonna go take it out. So we get the ship to work, and then you see a cool cutscene, kind of weird things happening.
Yeah.
The ship breaks away, and you go over to the oil rig, which
Yeah.
for some reason has big giant faces on the side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it
Which
looks
I
cool.
liked, but it looked cool.
This whole
Yeah, it
end
doesn't
of the
make any
game feels a little. I don't know.
I did not like the Enclave base at all.
I was going to say it felt a little rushed because there's not particularly a lot of stuff you can do here.
Well, I think there's a lot of stuff. It's just, I don't know. It just feels very sudden at the end of the game. Like I said, there's a lot of bullshit in this section. like I mentioned earlier with the final boss battle that just crops out of nowhere.
Yeah, this part is bullcrappy because
I think
you can't use your skills the way you should be able to finish the game. For
Yes.
instance, the game does hint to you that you really could use a presidential access key card.
yeah.
And let me tell you something. You need it to beat that last boss. If you're very good at the game
Yes.
and you know what you're doing, you could probably beat it. I don't know, maybe you could beat it without it.
Yeah.
But you need it.
Yeah.
And the only way to get it is from the President of the United States. Now, you go in there and you talk to him. His name is, what is it, Dick Richardson?
Dick Richardson. I think so,
Dick
yeah.
Richards.
So Dick, basically.
Yeah, Dick. So you go talk to Dick. And you talk about a lot of stuff and blah, blah, blah. By the way, the vice president is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like you just get in this
No, he's very
infinite
dumb.
loop of politician speak that you can't
Yeah.
break out of without just saying, okay, that's enough. See you later. Bye.
Yeah.
You talk to the president. If you try to steal it from him, you can't steal it.
Yes.
The only way to get it from him is to kill him.
Yeah. Which is, in
You
my
cannot
opinion,
talk him out of it, which,
Yeah.
in life you couldn't. But I don't know, in Fallout, it seems like there should be a talk option. There should be a non-hostile, aggressive option of getting this thing. And there's
yeah.
not.
In my opinion-
you have to kill him.
there are a lot of elements of the Enclave base that are like literally unacceptable, in my opinion.
And you cannot talk your way out of the final boss fight. And let
Yeah.
me tell you something. This last boss is a complete monster. Really, the whole Enclave makes no sense. So here's what you do. You go to the president. Instead, if you just kill him, everybody in the base tries to kill you. And now you have to fight all these Enclave guys, which you could probably do at this point. You're pretty strong, but I don't want to. So I found out in a walkthrough that you can get all
Yeah.
these guys have super stim packs,
Yep.
and the stim packs, after they're done, the withdrawal reduces
Yeah.
your hit points. So you just steal 12 of these, and you just I don't know why the
Which-
president doesn't seem to mind you shooting him up with 12 stim packs,
Yeah.
but I just go behind him and shoot him up with 12 super stems, and go over to the corner and rest for an hour, and he's dead.
Which I'm not sure. So I think this section may be. I don't know. There's something different by the way I played this game than the first time.
Yeah.
So a few things. The President Richard thing.
Yeah.
The stim packs. I actually did that the first time I played through the game. We just super stem him to death.
Right.
I did it this time and it did not work for some reason.
Weird.
He wouldn't die.
Did you not use enough, you think?
As a matter of fact, no. I had 9 on me. I think 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I used all of them.
Yeah.
It didn't kill him. It got him to like 48 hit points. I literally hacked my save file to give myself like 20 super stim packs. I used all of them on
That's
him.
hilarious.
And he still went down to only 48 hit points for some reason.
weird.
And the thing I was about to say earlier about the final boss battle, you go back to the entrance area where you fight the guy, Frank Horgan. There are turrets all around. What you're supposed to do is hack them so they attack Frank and not you.
Right.
By default, they attack you.
Yeah.
If you have the presidential access key, you can just use it right there in the battle. But for some reason, the first time I played this game, I locked myself out of it so you could not do it. I don't know what it is you do, but there's something.
That is so lame.
There is something you can do the first time you interact with it and lock yourself out of it, which is some Sierra bullshit.
I locked myself out of one of the terminals. I instantly reloaded the save. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that's bad, but I'm not having that.
And
Because I
it's-
didn't want to have a problem like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I didn't even think anything about it. It seemed so inconsequential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So end game, you get that from the president, and then weirdly,
And the fact that you can't steal the key from the president is unacceptable.
you should there should be a there should be
Yeah,
You
it
either
makes
have to
no sense.
You either have to game the game, like you're basically hacking it, doing some bullshit, or you have to aggro. You have hostilities.
Yeah.
There should be a speech option or a something
Or
else.
just be able to steal it.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, you can plant dynamite on him or something like that. That'll.
You talk to the scientists. They're working on this virus that kills only those with a certain amount of radioactive mutation.
Yeah.
They're going to use it to clear out the mainland so the Enclave can come in and establish the rule of only humans.
Yeah.
It's like the scientists didn't think about this, but you can have a conversation with the scientist
Yeah.
and convince him that what he's doing is wrong. He's like, basically, he says, "Oh, I never thought about it that way.
It's-
I'll tell you what I'll do.
it's
I'll
like-
release the virus here.
I know.
Here, take this inoculation.
Yeah.
I'll release the virus. You'll be fine. It'll kill everybody else."
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah,
Just
that
a
is
different kind of human.
That
It's
is
like-
so stupid.
Yeah.
That is
Which-
extremely stupid.
It's so silly. God damn. I don't
Actually,
know.
this whole last section sort of sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's rushed
Yeah,
and
yeah.
messed up. Maybe they were just doing this part at the very end. They're like, we
And
just got to figure out how to finish
You
this
could
game.
probably argue that like talking the master out of
You
know,
can talk him. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You could argue that that's pretty silly too, I guess. But
It is.
at least you have to show him like evidence, like, hey, super mutants are sterile. Your plan isn't going to work.
See, that's silly too, because if he had the science to do what he was doing, he would know they were sterile. But that never made sense
well,
to me
also,
either.
like, he'd be crazy, but it just makes more sense because you actually have to show him, like, hey, this is it. Whereas this guy's like, oh, well, we're just different kind of human.
right.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Damn, that's crazy.
yeah,
I'll
you
just
talk to the
kill everyone on
scientist,
base.
you're like, yeah. Have you ever, you basically say, have you ever thought that we're just a different kind of human? He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'll work with you to kill everybody here
Yeah.
and stop their plans. Cool. And you talk to another guy, you need to blow up their reactor.
Yeah.
You can do it yourself, which is what I did.
Yeah.
Or you can talk to this other guy, whose name I forget, and talk him into blowing up the base. And it's a similar situation, like, oh, okay, I never thought about it that way. And he'll just do it for you. Like,
Well,
wow,
in this case-
this is really weird.
In the other guy's case, you can actually threaten him to do it.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, I'll kill you if you don't do this.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, just save me,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
That's sort of funny. I guess that makes a little more sense. Anyway, you do those things. You release the virus. You steal the pass, and you blow up the reactor. You've got 10 minutes to get out.
Yeah.
On the way out, at the very end, you meet Frank Horgan. Now, you did see him once, possibly twice, while you were playing the game. Once you see him randomly. I did anyway. I don't know
Yeah,
about you.
I've never seen him anywhere else in the game.
While you're wandering around on the map, you can have a special encounter.
Yeah.
Where he's on the screen. He's a gigantic person
Yeah.
with this special power armor. And this family is like, please, sir, leave us alone. We're just passing through.
Yeah.
And he's like, time for you to die. And they mow him down and then they just
Yeah.
walk off. You can also see him in a holodisc playback, computer playback somewhere, I forget, killing somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, he's killing one of the Death Claws in Vault 13 because they end up attacking Vault 13 after you've been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can watch a holodisc recording of Frank Horgan killing one of the Death Claws.
Yeah.
With one hand, he just like and
Oh, I've never
smashes
seen that.
this guy.
I know if you have the Death Claw in your party, he'll say something about it. You can go back and they've slaughtered everyone in the vault.
Yeah, but that's it. Frank Horgan is this super like jacked up,
Yeah.
gigantic. He really is a mutant. I don't know why he doesn't count as a mutant
Yeah.
in the like sort of the regime, mutie killing regime thing they've got going on
Look,
here.
their whole plan
They
is
make
dumb.
an exception for him.
Yeah.
He is the head of the Secret Service. And when you get to the end of the game, he cannot be reasoned with. He cannot be talked down. He is going to fight you. There is nothing you can do about it. That is really unacceptable in a game like this. There should always be a non-combat option.
Yeah.
Because this game focuses on skills.
Yeah.
You do not have to be a killing machine. You should not have to be a killing machine in this game. You didn't have to be in the first game. You don't have to fight anybody.
Yeah.
This game should have been the same. If you've got a game that focuses on speech and sneaking and stealing and lockpicking, repairs, and stuff like that, you should be able to defeat the game without fighting
Yeah. Yeah.
because you didn't focus on combat skills.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this game, you can't do that. You get to Frank Corrigan, he basically says, you're toast and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So you're in this big room. It's surrounded by turrets, like you mentioned. If you don't have the presidential key card,
Yep.
these turrets are shooting you, and Frank is shooting you. Now, I was an okay character. I could shoot really well. I didn't have a ton of hit points, but I had the best armor in the game, and Frank would obliterate,
Yeah,
literally melt my character.
If you don't have the key card, this battle is literally impossible.
And I didn't realize it, but that group of Enclave soldiers that you see to
Yeah.
the
Get
right,
them to fight with you.
you can get them to fight with you. I didn't know that.
I've done that every time.
I didn't know that.
This battle, if you don't have the key, is literally impossible. Unless you hack your character, I guess. If you do have the key, is the easiest battle in the game. Because if you have the Enclave guys
Well-
fighting with you,
yeah.
you can just like spacebar and just let them do it.
Well,
And the turrets.
I had the key, and I did use the key on the terminal, so I had the turrets.
Yeah.
But the turrets were doing very little damage against Frank, and he's
Yeah.
got 1,000 hit points.
Yeah.
And the Enclave guys were not on my side because I didn't even speak to them, and I didn't even know that was a thing. So I had to take care of those guys.
Yeah.
I was letting the turrets take care of Frank, but what would happen probably 8-10 times in a row, he would kill all the turrets,
Yeah.
then he would just kill me.
Yeah.
So what
Although,
I
you
basically
know-
had to do, what?
I guess you could have just shot him once. and then just stim pack yourself while the turrets hit him because they'll just attack you if you shoot them.
Yeah, I had to sort of do that.
It's like hit him once and then just stim pack.
But
him.
I had to stim pack myself about
Yeah.
every turn, and I'd have a ton of stim packs, so it's not like I could just do it forever.
True.
I didn't think I'd need 70
Yeah.
stim packs. I had to save scum to beat it, so I had to basically save every round to make sure that the turrets would get some critical hits or
Yeah.
the luck would go my way, so that he would end up dying because he was mopping the floor with me every time. But the death is gruesome. He falls down and
It's so long.
It cuts him in half and his head blows up or falls off or some crap like that.
Yeah.
And then you leave the tanker and the oil rig blows up and that's it. End
Stuff
of the
is
game.
all over. Or if you, in my case, I had a Gorus in my party, Deathclaw from Vault 13, and I was trying to save Scum, but he got killed every single time.
Yeah.
It was just so, because you have to leave your party members. This is also obnoxious as shit, in my opinion. You can't have your party members in the Enclave base. You have to leave them in that front area. So, I had Sulik and Gorus, but they were, useless because they were not in my party. They were just sitting there. So, Sulik was, literally his back turned to me the entire time. But Gorus, where I left him,
The party member is so useless.
you had Frank here, Gorus here, Turret here. So, it was just perfectly, in line. And it would, one-shot Gorus every time. I felt bad. I tried to save it reload it every time, but it didn't work.
Nobody stands up against that guy.
No.
His weapons are ludicrous.
Yeah.
So that's Fallout 2. It's a great game. Before we wrap it up, did you get any special encounters? Because there was at least one I wanted to talk to you about, which was so funny to
Yeah,
me.
I got 3 special encounters.
I got the dead whale in the middle of nowhere.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
just
I
a
didn't see
dead
that.
whale. Looks like it fell out of a plane.
Yeah.
I got a herd of Brahmin, and when the Brahmin got next to you, they would explode for no reason.
I think I remember that from the first time I played it, but not this time.
We both got the Monty Python
Yeah.
skit at the bridge where you have to answer
Yeah.
the 3 questions, and if you answer them correctly, you can make the guy blow up.
Yeah.
Apparently his robes are good, but I didn't take them. You had to tell me that.
Yeah. I used the robes for a good chunk of the game.
I got the toxic waste dump, where you're in the middle of essentially a maze with toxic waste all around you and geckos everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how do you accidentally walk into the middle of a maze? Makes no sense. I just reloaded because I didn't even want to mess with it.
yeah.
But the cool one I got, and by the way, there are tons of special encounters. I don't even know
Yeah.
what all of them are. The cool one I got is there's like a gateway portal. It's a big rock circle.
Yeah.
You walk up to it, you appear inside of Vault 13, but it's completely empty. You're walking through, checking things out. It looks pristine and brand new. You go downstairs, you mess with, there's one computer blinking, you mess with it. It says, oh, it looks like you've damaged the water chip.
Oh, damn.
So what happened, you get experience points for doing that for some reason.
That's funny.
And then it teleports you out. So basically what happened is the events that set off the first game, the water chip, messing up. In this game, the idea is if you did that special encounter, you went back in time, messed with the computer, messed it up, and then came back to your own time.
That is
It makes no
bizarre.
sense
Yeah.
because there's no one in the vault.
Yeah.
It's sort of stupid. It makes no sense, but it was kind of funny.
Weird.
It came out of nowhere.
I had the Monty Python Bridge Keeper. I had the giant stone head,
Oh, yeah.
which I think you tell him you're the chosen one. He laughs at you or something. I forget what exactly happens. It's kind of nothing. He gives you a memorial rock, which doesn't do anything. And I also had the pariah dog, which I don't know if you ever know anything
I've
about
heard
that.
of it,
Yeah.
but I've not.
Which this time you come upon it, and it's this gory scene, just all these bodies strewn everywhere, just guts everywhere.
Huh.
There's one dog in the middle of it.
And he did it?
I don't know if he did it or not, but you can go to if you don't know what's going on, you go talk to the dog naturally, and he joins your party and
Oh my
never
God.
leaves. But he automatically drops your luck to 1 and gives you the jinxed
So
thing.
messed up.
And the only way to reverse is to kill that dog, and he has 900. He has 1,000 hit points and insane AC and dodge.
Well, like dog meat in the first game, he could attack 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
So this dog is probably the same.
He doesn't He doesn't attack at all. Every battle he just runs away. From
Oh.
everything. It's
That's
the bad luck.
hilarious.
The bad luck dog.
That is
And he's if you get him
Effed
in your
up.
party, he's useless. He just drops your luck to 1.
well.
Basically.
We mentioned there are a lot of cultural references in this game. I'm just going to touch on a few of them. I mean, there are literally over
Yep.
100 references in this game to all sorts of different stuff like 1984, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've got a list here. I'll just go over just a few of them just so you'll get the idea. Some people like this stuff. Some people are like, well, this kind of messes up the tone of the game, whatever. For instance, in Vault City, there's a person who will sometimes say, I'm feeling double plus good today. You? Now, that's a reference from
1984.
1984, yeah, that's right. There is a reference to the Pear operating system. Obviously,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
kind of like Apple. There is a reference to Big Trouble in Little China. There's actually two of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Blues Brothers. Let's find a good one. The Junkies of New Reno, they'll occasionally say, drink beers, smoking weed. Or Snoochie Boochies,
Yeah.
which if you've seen Clerks, you know that one. There's a guy in Broken Hills. There's someone who will say, come on, Eileen.
Yeah.
You know that song, of course. There is so if you get the 44 Magnum revolver, the description says, being that this is the most powerful handgun in the world,
Yeah.
it can blow your head clean
Oh, the
off.
Clint Eastwood.
You got to ask
Or,
yourself
yeah.
one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
There's some other good ones. I know the vice president in the Enclave.
Dan
You know,
Quayle.
Yeah, is that it, Dan Quayle, the guy who does the potato thing? The spelled potato, yeah.
Yeah. Dune. There are a few references to Dune. Mentats, or the medicine, the drug you can take to make you more intelligent in this game.
Yeah.
Mentats with the human computers in Dune. And if you fight some primitive, like tribal characters in a certain part, sometimes they'll say fear is the mind killer when you when they miss the target. There's some references to the original Fallout game, sort of meta, like break the fourth wall kind of references. Anyway, I could go on and on. The game's full of them. They're mostly harmless. They're a little bit immersion breaking. I guess
Yeah.
they're not a huge deal. I
They're
could
probably
do,
fine if you don't know them, but
I can
feel
honestly
like
do
they're-
without them
Yeah.
myself. I don't think they add anything especially to the game. I think they only take away immersion, kind of mess
Yeah.
up the atmosphere. But they
Especially if you recognize them. I don't know. I don't like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I don't really like fan service and stuff like that generally.
Yeah.
I'm not really crazy about this sort of stuff.
I could do without any of this stuff.
A little bit is fine, but it's way
It's heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to be fair, I didn't see most of these things.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't go around and talk to every single person in every town too, which is probably what you're supposed to do. Final thought. Oh, well, the ending. By the way, just a quick note about the ending, like the first game, depending on the stuff you did. So the ending
Yeah.
is basically a slideshow, and I love it because it tells you what happens to every area
Yeah, I like
that you
the
interacted
slideshow
with.
ending,
So New Reno and the Broken Hills and the Vault 13 and blah, blah, blah. And everybody, everything has its own ending. So depending on what quests you did, who you helped, the ending might be different. So
Yeah.
what's cool is every time you play, you're going to have a little bit of a different ending.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned Metzger earlier. I wish I had gone
Yeah,
back and wiped the floor with him and his whole guild,
No,
because
I
if you
did,
don't
yeah,
mess with him, in the ending you find out that he just grows in power and
Yep.
influence and expands his slavery power. It's like, dang it, I should have gone back and destroyed that guy. What was
No,
that
yeah,
name?
when I did it, it said I stopped it in its tracks.
Yep.
I did get a weird bug thing at the end where for some reason it said I killed the Death Claws in Vault 13, which I didn't.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I wasn't even there because if you have Gorse in the party, he says, oh, I think something's going wrong in Vault 13. I'll be back later. You can go see him and you're already dead.
Right. And what's cool about the ending too, it's not like everything is happy or everything's sad.
Yeah.
It's all a mixed bag. Even
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you make the quote good choice, sometimes the ending
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a mixed bag. So that's cool. The ending is great. Let's wrap up our final thoughts on this game.
All right.
First question I had for you, and I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Which game is superior, Fallout 1 or Fallout 2?
Unquestionably Fallout 1.
Why would you say that?
I mean, well, partly because I didn't have to, hack my save file to finish it every time I played the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I
it
feel
encourages
that.
role playing a little more, I think, a little better. It doesn't force you into playing things the way the game. I mean, you kind of have to because it has its own parameters, but you can make use of all the skills involved in the game. It's a tighter narrative. I think I've said this before, but I just love stories that like there's just a beginning and end to it, and really there's no.
Tight is the
It's-
right word
yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
I agree with that 100%.
It's tight. Everything feels it feels more focused.
Well, like we mentioned in the beginning, the first game was built by a small team over the course of 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And it's by orders of magnitude almost, smaller game than part 2.
Yeah.
So they took way more time to build a much smaller game.
Yeah.
Now, they did have to create all the assets and blah, 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 and that takes up a lot of time. But the point is, it was a much more focused... I mean, the first
it's
Fallout
focused,
game, even if you do everything, it's a much shorter game.
There's no parts of the game that feel unnecessary.
I like that. The game never wears out its welcome.
Yeah.
You can do tons of stuff. There's still lots of different ways to do all the quests. There's a big variety of quests. Maybe all your skills could have been used a little more in the first game. Sometimes you feel like, well, there's not as much stuff as I would want to repair or use science on or whatever. But there's lots of stuff to do, and there are lots of ways to solve quests and lots of different endings. And it's small enough that you feel like you can go through it many times and try out many different things. I love it. I think it's a nice, tight little experience. But part 2 sprawls, and I like part 2 a lot. By the way, I agree with you. Part 1 is superior.
Yeah.
It's better made. It's
Part
better
1 is
focused.
and the second one just feels like there's so much to it that is completely unnecessary.
Part 1 is more cohesive.
Yeah.
Now, part 2, some of the towns look awesome.
Yeah.
It's got the quests are actually, even though there are a ton of quests, very few of the quests in part 2 feel lame. Like, this is just a lame fetch quest. You know, a lot of games, modern games especially, they're full of you have a map that's full of stuff to do, but a lot of it's the same old crap over and over again. This game is not like that.
Yeah.
All the quests are varied. There are a lot of personalities in the game. You get to know a lot of different people and you learn a lot of different stories. So I like that about it, that even though it has a ton of quests, they do not feel samey. But at the same time, the game is way too big. I cannot believe they made it as good as they did in 9 months.
Yeah.
That blows my mind that they even accomplished that.
That comes back in New Vegas because they made that game in 9 months too, I think.
Yeah.
Or 11 or something like that, yeah. Something absurd.
So I would say Fallout 1 is superior, but I would also say that Fallout 2 is an excellent game and certainly worth your time, especially if you can make it to Vault City and you really get into the sort of more of the meat of the game. You get once you get a good weapon and you kind of get on your feet and you understand what's going on, I think the game is a whole lot more fun. Maybe the second playthrough is even better than the first. And I would encourage you, if you're playing it for the first time, if this doesn't bother you for some reason, just go to a walkthrough, figure out what stats do I need. Because that's one of my problems when I play any game. It's like, they give me all this stuff, but I don't know what's useful and what's not. How much strength do I need? How much intelligence do I need? How much charisma do I need?
And in Fallout 1, for the most part, you can get by with pretty varied skill set.
Yeah.
You're not quite as beholden to it. Fallout 2 is not like that. You really need to pay attention to how you
Well,
build your
like for
character.
instance, I did what I just said. I used the walkthrough to see, okay, I just want to build a character that can do the stuff I want to do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to find it out by playing for 25 hours. So it told me to dump my charisma to 1. I would never have done that. Because they're telling me charisma only affects the number of partners that you want in your party.
Yeah.
I don't want any. I don't care about that. So I don't need any. Now, I would have probably jacked it up to 8.
Yeah.
That's like 7 points or whatever that I would not have had if I had not looked at that. So anyway,
For sure.
I think you just do yourself a favor and do that.
I think it's a good game. I don't think it's quite as necessary to play as the first one.
I think we've already sort of answered this question. I was going to ask you how it could be improved. In my opinion, it looks great. There are tons of weapons.
Yeah.
I think that if you just made the storytelling a little more cohesive over the entire run of the game, like you said, the Enclave is kind of just sprung on you. Fix the storytelling a little bit.
Unless you did the Brotherhood of Steel stuff, there's
breadcrumb your story a little better.
Yeah.
Make sure that you point me in the direction of the things I need to get in a way so I do not have to consult a walkthrough ever. You can make things difficult in that maybe I know where something is, but I don't know how to get it. But I got to know where to go.
Yeah.
And you've got to fix that freaking world map. That world map to me is the only thing that is. The world map sucks.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I think it's too big.
It's too big. There are too many encounters, and no matter how powerful you are, You just get killed all the
Yeah.
time on the world map if
Yeah.
you're in certain parts of the map. I freaking hate it.
I mean, I'm not a game designer, but everything just feels not very cohesive to me, and it needs something to pull it together.
So that's it. Fallout 2 is good. Go play it. I think we're going to do an episode on Fallout 3
I'm down for it.
we'll probably do it in a few weeks. Next week, we are going to do an episode, a funny episode on some movie that I'm not going to tell you about. All right, we haven't decided exactly what movie we're going to use.
We're gonna do something next
but
week.
we're gonna get into a funny movie that I think you're going to enjoy next week. You'll find out next Monday. I hope you
Hey.
enjoyed the show. We love to have you. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We need subscribers on YouTube because we're all a family here, okay? Join the family. Join the Too Much Coffee podcast family. Tell us in the comments what you think about Fallout 2. What happened to you when you played the game? Did you like it? Would you recommend it? Which Fallout game is your favorite? We hope you had fun. We'll see you next time.
Bye.